Good evening, everybody. Gee, anything big happen in the news today? Damn. Whoo. Please like and share the live. Would really, really appreciate that. Got a few things that we're going to kind of cover tonight, obviously. I'm at 36 subscribers. Can we get to 40 tonight? That would be fantastic. I would really appreciate that. I think I finally have settings set. I double checked them before. My gifts are turned off. Again, according to the settings. So let's hope that's the case. If not, I am participating in the strike, so please do not gift. I really appreciate that. And like and share, like and share, like and share. I want to welcome Dave. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, my good man. I just heard your speech regarding CoinCot. Just want to add to that. Don't send me anything. If you're going to send anything, send it to Facts.
Appreciate that. I just want to give a shout out to our friend Anthony. Anthony's dealing with some family stuff, which is why he's not joining us this evening. So, friends, please send your love Anthony's way. He's dealing with some heavy shit, but we'll continue to check in.
I hope he's all right. I hope he's okay. And I'll turn my camera on after I'm done eating dinner.
All good. All good. It's okay, Nikki. I don't know what's going on, guys, with my gifting. I literally checked it. There's one button that you check in the settings, and every time I confirm the live, I check it, and it's turned off. I don't know what's going on, but please do not gift panelists this evening. I would really appreciate that.
Now there is one thing, actually, Facts. I was on a live earlier today. So apparently, if you turn off gifting, people can't click on panelists and follow them.
I know that.
So. Okay, yeah. So for any panelists that come up, if you guys, we should kind of just say something in the chat so people can follow us that way.
That's exactly right. So let's jump in. A couple things to cover off on. So obviously, from the headline, the Justice Department will not be charging Joe Biden classified documents probe. This has been expected. I want to be sure that we're being sincere because this is something that we need to cover. Did Joe Biden and Mike Pence mishandle classified information? Yes. Similarly to Mike Pence, no charges will be brought. The issue specifically that I had with reading the executive summary is that Robert Hur, by the way, a U.S. attorney appointed by Donald Trump, assigned to this case by Joe Biden, Merrick Garland, the Biden Justice Department, he uses the words willfully retained. And I think it's interesting that language was used, considering all the documents were turned over voluntarily. So I don't know how you willfully retain something that you voluntarily turn over. We'll leave that for another day. Also, he references Joe Biden's memory and age in this document. And I don't know how, from a legal perspective, a U.S. attorney has any right and or any credibility to make statements like that. My point is it becomes a bit political, and I think that was intentional, in my opinion. So some more details from this case. If you read the executive summary, I've only gotten through about half of the actual report, but in the executive summary, Robert Hur clearly points out the distinctions between this case, Mike Pence's case, and what Donald Trump did. If you could just mute for a second, Dave, just while you're eating, bro, I'd appreciate that. Thank you very much. It talks about the fact that the special counsel drew clear distinctions between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Among them is the fact that the National Archives repeatedly tried and failed to get documents back that were in Trump's possession, leading to the FBI securing a search warrant to go to Mar-a-Lago. Biden's attorneys, on the other hand, notified the National Archives of the materials found in his possession, and those documents were turned over. Most notably, and I quote, "Most notably, after being given multiple chances to return classified documents and avoid prosecution, Mr. Trump allegedly did the opposite," Hur wrote. According to the indictment, he not only refused to return the documents for many months, but he also obstructed justice by enlisting others to destroy evidence and then to lie about it. The quote continues, "In contrast, Mr. Biden turned in classified documents to the National Archives and the Department of Justice, consented to the search of multiple locations, including his homes, sat for a voluntary interview, and in every other way cooperated with the investigation." So from a legal perspective, Dave, you would think that this is over. Although there are statutes of limitations connected to this, and we know, so if we go back to 2022, which is when this testimony was given. So does the clock start there? We know from Donald Trump's own words that if he were to retain the White House again, that he would literally weaponize the DOJ. So again, legally speaking, this case in theory is over, but politically it's certainly not.
Well, legally and politically, it's not over.
Okay.
So there's a thing called prejudice. When does prejudice attach? You've heard the term double jeopardy, right? You can't be tried for the same thing twice.
Correct.
Well, the question of when something starts, that's a question of when does it attach? When does the prejudice attach? As a general rule, in criminal cases, once a case goes to a jury, that's when the prejudice attaches. That's when you hit the double jeopardy wall. This case, a prosecutor has decided not to prosecute the case.
Right.
At that point, another special prosecutor or just any old what do you call it? Any old prosecutor, federal prosecutor, can still indict Biden on these charges
After he leaves the presidency.
Technically now. Well, we'll see.
Well, the DOJ has their standing rule that you don't
yes,
indict a sitting president. So,
but that's a DOJ internal rule. That is not an actual. That's not actually. That's not a legal rule. That's a DOJ. I mean, look.
Right, but the Department of Justice is the only one that can indict the president.
Yes, yes.
So under our Constitution, it would have to be them.
Yes, what I'm saying is they could change the rule at a moment's notice. They choose not to, but we're that's how many angels can dance on the head of a pin bullshit.
Right.
The bottom line is what her is really saying is that the difference between it, for him anyway, the difference between indictment and not indictment is, did I have to issue subpoenas to get these documents? And then after those subpoenas were issued, did I have to do it again? And did I have to knock on his door in the middle of the day with a bunch of FBI agents, having had a search warrant issued, go through his fucking home and find the documents? Because that's... Now, I gotta say, I have a problem with this report, just like you.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a little pushback on the medical thing. The way I read it is that he was saying that Biden's demeanor was that of a sweet old guy who was forgetting stuff, and that it wouldn't play well for a prosecutor to a jury. The retention thing, again, willful retention means I knew I had these documents, and I willfully retained them, meaning, again, willfulness. That's where I don't understand how he's coming up with willfulness, because in order you have to demonstrate that you knew they were there and you refused to give them up. I don't know if there's any. I mean, I didn't see anything where he said, yeah, Biden knew they were there. He knew he had them after he left the vice presidency.
Right.
He doesn't have evidence of that. Again, it's the knowledge. Every single criminal act requires mens rea. Mens rea means guilty mind. It's Latin for guilty mind. So you have to have
intent, basically, intent. Right?
Exactly. You have to intend to do it. Trump was charged because he had clear intent. That intent is not based on mind reading. That intent is based upon the actions that you take before, during, and after. That's what intent comes from.
Right.
And there was no intent. The minute he found out that he had the damn documents, he gave them up. He gave them back to Nara. And he appointed, it was under the auspices of the White House, that a special prosecutor was even appointed to investigate the question. I don't know if the White House had any hand in appointing that particular prosecutor, a prosecutor that was appointed originally by Trump. But that might very well have been kind of the word from on high to main justice. I need this to be completely on the level.
Sure.
I.e., I want somebody whose politics don't gel with mine.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do conversations like that happen? Well, sure, by design they're not supposed to, but I'm not going to say that they
It
don't,
might
but I
there
think
might not have been it might not have been a conversation that had to happen.
right,
Um, it might very well have been that Merrick Garland said, "Yeah, I think I know what we need to do here. We need to be
sure,
unequivocal on this." And he might have, because the appointment is not, you don't put 100 names into a hat and just choose one. Jack
that's right,
Smith wasn't chosen because, oh, look, it's Tuesday. He was chosen because he has a record of prosecuting politicians.
correct,
He ran the department that prosecuted politicians. He's prosecuted governors. So
that's
that's
right.
why he was chosen. He was chosen for a very specific purpose, and that purpose is his expertise. Same thing with her.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and I was trying to I was trying to find before our live tonight because the special counsel has rules. There are rules that are connected to the special counsel as to what they can do. So when we say special counsel, we think about people like Jack Smith or Robert Mueller,
Yes.
Robert Hur in this case, and there are
Yes.
rules. And
hmm
I'm just curious about because yes, I understand your connection there about his memory and things along those lines. It just doesn't seem. Um, necessary to
I agree
include
with you.
things like that.
I
So
absolutely agree with you.
yeah, so I guess that's kind of my point. That it seems like again because everything is politicized these days. Let's be real. So
hmm
using language like willfully retained, to your point, doesn't seem to apply because I can't make the connection. I don't see how you willfully retain things when you discover things and you immediately contact the authorities and turn everything over. I don't know how that would be willfully retained. That's one element, and then bringing in personality traits and or diagnoses when you're not in a position to do so. But that will be worked out, I suppose. But um, so that's where
It's
we
not going to
sit.
be worked out. This is where this report's going to stand, and that's that. This is the report.
Exactly.
A special
I
prosecutor
mean
has,
politically. I mean working
yeah,
politically. Yep.
yeah. A special prosecutor has almost complete discretion.
Yeah.
There's a great podcast called Mueller She Wrote,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's a
I've seen it.
fantastic podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
and um, they went over a lot of how special prosecutors worked, and one of the big questions is, does the special prosecutor have complete authority to indict, or does the special prosecutor have to go through main justice to indict?
Yeah.
And Mueller did not have that authority, and technically neither does Jack Smith. But Merrick Garland said, you know what? What he told Jack Smith was, while I'm not going to give you the authority, I'm going to do whatever you suggest.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then there's reporting that goes back to 2017 about an interview that Biden had with a ghostwriter, and apparently he referenced those documents. But again, that's part of the confusion in this case about whether or not was he under the impression that he could have these because Nara was involved at that point as a former vice president that leaves office. There's all those documents are. So did Nara drop the ball? These are
Yeah.
the things that we don't know. These are the things that we
hmm
don't know. So again, people are going to make their own assumptions. I just want to make it very clear that if Joe Biden has done something wrong criminally and there's due process and they find him guilty, throw his ass in jail, and I will
Yeah.
not lose a night of, and I will not lose a night of sleep over that. Not a
None of us
night.
will.
None
No,
of us
none of,
will.
I don't know one Democrat who would. I don't know one person who isn't a crazy head MAGA who would give a flying fig Newton whether a politician got indicted or not. There's a
Exactly.
difference. There's a difference between this is the politician I voted for, and this is the God King that I pray to every night.
Yeah, and I do want to remind people that not it necessarily applies to this case, but vice presidents do have the authority to declassify docs. So I'll be happy to
They
talk to
do?
MAGA about that. They
I don't
do.
even know that.
They do
I did
indeed.
not know
Yeah.
that. Interesting.
Executive order 13526.
Hmm.
So again, that's so we can dive into that this evening, folks, and we'll talk about it. I'm sure the topic will come up. But I wanted so that's just one little bit of news today.
Hmm.
um, the other how do I do this? The other element is that I want to get into specifically is let's see, where is it? I need to do this.
Oh,
Hold
you
on.
need to find the good background for it. Okay.
I do. Hold on a second. Hold on. How do I do that?
Before
There
we
we go.
go there, do
Here.
you want to invite a couple of MAGAs up to talk about the report? I'm sure it'll be some frothing stuff.
Yeah, we can do that. I just want to have this up in the background. I mean,
Oh,
we're
sure.
gonna be we're gonna be going back and forth all night on this topic, so
Oh, I'm
that's totally
sure.
fine. That's totally
hmm
fine. So our next topic that we have to talk about, and the reason specifically that I asked Dave to join, but obviously we have lots of legalese to talk about this evening, is we had the oral arguments today, in regards to the 14th Amendment case, Section 3, that the petitioners were the state of Colorado in this case. It's just really interesting to me from what I've heard. First of all, going into this thing, it was an uphill fight. We sort of all knew that. I never believed that the state of Colorado would win this case. I thought it might be a little bit closer. It seems like it's going to be 7-2, 8-1, 9-0. We don't know. But in the more time that I've spent listening to kind of summaries on it today, it just seems just the hypocritical nature of certain members of the court when they apply states' rights in some examples and not in others. I'm trying to navigate through that. So your overall perspective on that, sir?
Well, first of all, don't try to navigate through it because there's no navigation. Okay, it's absolutely it's pitch black. The whole textualist nonsense that was started with our friend of the pod, Antonin Scalia.
Right.
And he was, and I think I said this before, maybe, and you're live or somebody else's, but if you look at the record of his opinions, he was a textualist when it suited him. And he wasn't a textualist when it didn't suit him. That was his entire, that's why whenever, we heard, Antonin Scalia, he's an originalist, he's a textualist. Anybody who reads his opinion, which includes probably every lawyer who has any interest in it, sits there, tongue in cheek going, yeah, sure. He's a textualist when it fucking suits him. That's it.
Right.
That's all there is to it.
Right.
I will say this, in modern times, he was the first uber political justice that I could think of. In modern times, obviously you had the pre-Civil War Judge Taney, who penned Dred Scott. They were some mean and nasty bastards. But after that, the courts were very much trying to be even-handed, no matter which president, brought them to the court. But Scalia went in there with an obvious political agenda, and he just, that was it. That was his agenda every single time. As far as the decision today, when you asked me this, a lot of other people asked me, what are the odds that the Supremes are going to allow Colorado's decision to stand? I said 75 against. 75% chance they're going to overturn it. After listening to the arguments today, 95% chance it's going to be overturned. And it's going to be overturned. We're talking about an 8-1 or 9-0 vote. Because when I was listening to the arguments, the attorneys for Colorado were getting pushback not just from the right-leaning justices. The only center justice right now that you can be called somewhat center at this point is likely Roberts, and he was given the pushback. Ketanji Brown Jackson and Elena Kagan also gave pushback to Colorado's council.
Another little nuance that I took from that, especially when it was Kavanaugh's testimony, because they were talking about insurrection specifically. And before I get too deep into that, I did notice that there was no pushback about insurrection specifically.
There couldn't
only from the Trump team, because
there was a little bit. There was very little. Maybe it was Amy Boney Carrot. I don't remember who, but yeah. Right. But that was it.
So how I read that, how I interpreted that, is that they're accepting the statement of fact issued by the state of Colorado that he did in fact engage in insurrection. So yeah. Neil, so follow my logic here for a second. So Brett Kavanaugh was questioning the attorney and was talking about insurrection, how we have an element in our Constitution that would immediately remove someone from office if found guilty of insurrection, which from my perspective, if you think ahead to the immunity decision, that blows a hole in the entire argument that a president has immunity, since we literally have a clause in our Constitution that would remove anybody from office if they in fact were convicted and or charged with insurrection. So thinking ahead to that. So I wonder if he did that intentionally to say, okay, we have this that's out there, so yeah, we know that the president doesn't have immunity. So that was sort of my train of thought when I heard that.
Well, a lot of people are thinking that this court already has pre-planned how they're going to deal with that second one. What they want to, I think, Roberts, more than any other justice, Roberts is the one who is mostly concerned about the credibility of the court, and
Sure.
having these two cases coming up side to like side to side, I think is a blessing for him, because he can demonstrate now that the court is indeed fair. Because my odds are they're gonna 8-1 or 9-0 this decision in
Hmm.
overturning Colorado, and then they're either going to deny cert or they're going to rule and destroy his whole presidential immunity nonsense. That is
Yeah,
my kind of my bet. Call it. I think it's a pretty good bet. If I was, if you know, I'd put money on that bet.
I would agree. In MAGA, I just want to remind you guys that the Colorado case was brought by Republicans. It wasn't brought by Democrats. Just FYI, so you know that for historical purposes.
Yeah,
So you should be happy because, I mean, again, we don't know. The decision's supposed to come down. I think Colorado would ask for a decision by Sunday so that they can prepare
likely,
ballots, but I don't think they're going to get
likely.
that done.
No,
Likely before Super Tuesday, which is in
two
March.
weeks. 2 weeks. Something you should know about Supreme Court argument. When justices ask questions, they're these are the parts that they're curious about. They know these arguments backwards and forwards already. They have all been very fully briefed. Every justice has some of the best legal minds, young legal minds, working for them as clerks. Okay, all this stuff's briefed. When a justice asks a question, they're really curious about that question.
Sure.
So when they ask questions about things like due process, they were curious about that, whether Trump got due process. I didn't hear a lot of questions about the whole. There was a little back and forth, but not a lot about the question of whether the president is an officer as defined by the 14th Amendment. So I think that they already, that one's already been decided by them, or at least the majority of them. I think
Seems like it.
I think they're gonna punt. What they're going to say is that sure, it could happen, but it hasn't happened, because either they're going to say that the federal government is supposed to, either that the federal government should have a statute, which they don't, or they would say that the state government didn't do what it was supposed to do. And I mean, they were talking a lot about whether a state government can rule that somebody up for a federal office is disqualified. And there was only one case, and I remember it was a back and forth with one of the Colorado attorneys and Thomas, where Thomas basically asked, "Is there an example of a state disqualifying a presidential candidate for this?" And there was one example. It wasn't a presidential candidate. It was a congressman from that state, and it was always the biggest examples. This is the other thing, and this is one of those things. The section says can't serve. It doesn't say can't run.
Right.
And
Or it
this
says
is another
can't hold, but can't. Yeah, you're right about that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
this is another one of those. How many angels can dance in the head of a pin?
Right.
But they were bringing that up, because the one example they had was, I think it was in Georgia, and it was a Confederate who ran and won, but the Georgia legislature, or maybe it was Congress, refused to seat.
Right. Right.
So they
So,
ran, they won, but couldn't be seated.
long story short on this, I think this decision is expected. I'm not surprised by it. We'll just beat his ass at the ballot box anyway.
I would
And I
rather. I mean, here's the thing. I think he is the worst candidate Republicans can field.
I
He
agree.
is the worst. If you look
I
at
agree.
if you look at the current polling, and oh, Biden, look, this election, like almost all elections, is going to be decided by independents, and he's
Always
losing
is.
independents on about 2-1.
Absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, elections are about contrast, and you can easily make the contrast between accomplishments legislatively from Joe Biden and the fact that Donald Trump's got 91 felony charges against him. So there's that.
Exactly.
All right, folks. I think Nikki said she had a question for you real quick, so I'll bring her up.
Bring it up.
Ta-
Hey, Nikki,
Tap.
how are you?
Hey,
Hi,
love, how
Nikki.
are you? Okay, I just had a quick question because it's a law question. So,
Ask
Oh, wait, before you do that, I think Facts has a announcement to make.
Yeah, just like and share, everybody. Please tap, tap, tap. Let's try to get to 25,000 if we can here soon. And if you'd like to support the channel, there's a Cash App in my bio. And thank you very much. And no gifts, please. No gifts.
Especially
Thank you very
not to
much.
me. I
Or
don't need
me.
them.
No,
Yes.
thank you. Okay, so I have a legal question. So I listened to the whole thing. Some of it was okay, and some of it was a little confusing. But am I right? When did I understand when they were talking about the whole thing in Congress? Did he say that the only way that Congress would be able to do anything was if he was elected first, and then they could do something?
Yeah, if he was elected and then they would impeach. There was, I mean, there were a lot of people who were talking, and this is actually a big question because during his second impeachment, which was the impeachment for the insurrection, what's his nuts? McConnell's position was that, well, this isn't the proper place. We can't impeach him. He needs to be prosecuted. So in order to be disqualified. So it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. Look, bottom line is we're going to have to beat him in the ballot box. This case was a loser from the beginning, at least for our side. It was a winner for MAGA. But this is an intellectual exercise. That's what this is. It's an intellectual exercise. The big case is going to be the one where he's going to lose on immunity, and I can't wait to hear what that moron's going to say about, oh my God, how can they accuse, how could they prosecute a president for presidential acts? Well, Bubba, it wasn't a presidential act you were doing. That whole thing was about your campaign, and campaigns aren't a presidential act. It's trying to get to be president so you can commit presidential acts.
That's right.
Commit's the wrong word, but
Did that answer your question, Nikki?
Yes and no. Please, guys, no gifting. He's doing CoinCot, but it's just not working. Yeah, sort of.
Look, we're up here. We're here for 3 hours. Just ask away. I'm happy to explain it. And I realize sometimes I'm a lawyer. I talk lawyerese. I try not to when we're doing these because I know that the vast majority isn't.
You explained it. It's there was so much back and forth, and then I guess part of it was not seeing which justice was asking certain things at certain times was kind of confusing. It's like, okay, wait, who's asking this and why? But I don't know. Whatever. Did you see that he made a statement afterwards?
I did not. I mean, look, I didn't hear the whole argument. It was 2.5 hour argument, and I was working. So I was listening and working at the same time.
Afterwards?
Well, I have a quote. Hold on a second. So it says, in comments to reporters on Thursday, right after the hearing, Trump blamed the J6 riot at the Capitol on Pelosi, the Democrat who served as Speaker at the time, and he said it was an insurrection.
He did. He called it an insurrection.
Caused by Nancy Pelosi.
He did. He called it an insurrection twice. So he called it an insurrection. So
he's either deluded. I mean, he's either utterly insane and deluded, or he's doing it just to keep on giving talking points to his shrinking base. I don't know what he's doing at this point.
I go with the first one.
I agree. Thank you, Nikki, for jumping in, friend.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Remember, guys, keep tapping the screen. Please don't gift. He's doing CoinCot. And if you have any questions, we're in the thing. But if hate speech is getting muted tonight, I have no patience for all you people today. So
thank you, friends. Appreciate you.
Be
Nikki.
nice.
Thanks a lot. We got it. I appreciate you. You're awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, that's again the just the irony behind the way he fucking talks. I mean, I can't imagine. I know in your profession you kind of have to represent some of the lowest of the low, but I can't imagine trying to have somebody like that as my client when literally they're talking about insurrection, talking about the disqualification clause to keep him from running for president, and he goes outside and says, yeah, it was an insurrection, but it wasn't caused by me.
So look, of all of the attorneys that have represented him, the one that I can most kind of understand is Joe Tacopina. We work in the same place, although we work in different, we're both street lawyers. We both argue cases for a living. And I can see why he basically, I'm surprised he took the man on, period, because he's got
Yeah.
plenty of clients. He doesn't need he doesn't need this client, and he
No.
doesn't need this headache.
No.
You know, and I'm surprised he took him on. I really am.
He's out now, though. I guess he got
No, because I'll tell you, I don't know why, because his motion didn't say why. He was covered under attorney-client privilege, but I can tell you why I believe it is. Because his client was trying to force him to do things that he thought were unethical.
right.
Because if you watch Alina Habba's performance
Oh,
before
God.
Judge Kaplan and also before Judge Engoron, you're watching a lawyer bury her career when it comes to ethical guidelines. You're
Oh, yeah.
watching her defy court orders, defy directives by the bench, and she's doing it all the time. And this is what Trump wanted from all of his attorneys.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you notice, a lot of his attorneys will no longer be attorneys real soon.
That's right. That's exactly right. I mean, she's just setting up her next gig on Newsmax or whatever the hell she's going to end up doing because she's just incompetent. I thought it was interesting that the judge had to kind of tell her how to introduce evidence. I mean, just like, give me a fucking break. But that's where we are. That's the world that we live in these days. So let's bring somebody leftist vet. Let's bring up leftist vet. Let's see what. So leftist vet's mind. Again, continue to like and share, guys. Really appreciate that.
No.
Leftist vet. Are you driving, bro?
Yeah, I didn't even request to come up.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, gotcha. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, just so people know, we can't have people up here who are driving because that's against guidelines, and we also can't have anybody under the age of 18 because it's also against guidelines.
Welcome back, friend. How are you tonight?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. What's on your mind today?
Man, I really didn't expect to come up so fast. I just got here.
Okay.
Normally I have to
Oh,
wait
it's
a
early.
little while.
It builds.
Did you watch the oral arguments or listen to the oral arguments today?
Yes.
I did most of it in between work, but yes.
Some of it, but yes.
I'm curious what your thoughts were on how each side did presenting their case.
Just on presentation?
Yeah, I'll take that first, then Dave could go. So I think that the case for the representing the state of Colorado, I think it was already an uphill battle. I don't know enough about legalese to be able to say his performance, but it just doesn't seem like he answered the questions directly, which I think frustrated a lot of the justices. I think he was sort of scrambling for answers. I think he was prepared, but again, I think the argument was specific. I don't know why they didn't lean in more on the fact that, especially when one justice asked about disenfranchising voters, he referenced the fact that during J6 in general, the entire reason they were there that day was because the intent was during J6 to literally disenfranchise 81 million people that voted for Joe Biden. So I don't know if they spent enough time on that. I think that the Trump's team had sort of history on their side, so to speak. I think you could tell going in that the conservative justices, I'm not going to say that they had made up their mind, but just their line of questioning was more about semantics arguments more than the facts of the case. That's just my opinion. Dave?
Look, first of all, I don't think anybody did well. I think Trump's lawyers were not doing great. There was a point early on when Alito had to basically bail out one of Trump's attorneys because he was saying, well, this is a constitutional argument, and it wasn't a constitutional argument. Kagan caught him, and then Alito jumped in and kind of saved them. So they weren't doing great. But I agree with facts on Colorado's attorneys. Colorado's attorneys, look, we all have times when we argue cases that we know 95% chance we're going to lose. And we do everything we can. We throw spaghetti at the wall and see if any of it sticks. And that's what they were doing. They knew that they had a very hostile bench. They knew that history wasn't really on their side because there's no precedent for this. So they were, nobody did great. Hey, Archangel Uriel, what am I clueless about? Come up and tell me. I'm real curious about what you have to say.
Ignore the comments for now. Just focus on the question.
I know. But no, I don't think anybody did great. This case is a loser. This case was not going to win. And, when you have the most liberal justices of the court pushing back on you, and obviously the conservatives pushing back on you, you're going to lose. And unfortunately, they're going to lose. Like I said, 8-1, 9-0, mostly because the conservatives are in the bag and the liberals are actually just as care about the law. And they realize that the Colorado case, it doesn't have what it needs.
Right.
From a legal perspective, it doesn't have what it needs. But what I am going to be very curious about is if the decision is going to mention whether the trial court nailed it by dubbing it an insurrection. I have a feeling that they're not, because they don't love Trump. They're not stupid. They may be in the bag, but the justices are not stupid. And I
Right.
believe that the majority of them see the danger that he poses. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to say, yeah, it was an insurrection, but for X, Y, Z, A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3, he could remain on the ballot.
Right. So your thoughts? What can we call you instead of you might be wrong? Should we call
My
you
name's Matthew.
you? Okay,
My name's
Matthew.
Matthew.
Thank you. Appreciate
Cool.
that. So what do you think, Matthew? What are your thoughts?
I agree with your observation facts of what took place in the delivering of the oral arguments. You know, I can see it from both sides. I understand each side's arguments. I was I had not read any of the briefs. I had not really been following the facts of the case out of Colorado. So today I was surprised to learn that Trump's team was not necessarily presenting the arguments that a lot of what seemed to be what a lot of media was feeding, that the arguments were being, I know that the immunity thing was a long shot, but it seemed like the media was feeding a narrative that, the defense in this case wasn't necessarily even pursuing, which caught me off guard because I really anticipated there to be constitutional arguments or I expected the constitutional argument for the 14th Amendment in its totality, even in the first section, to be applied to the third section. And I
They
was
did.
surprised that
They
they didn't
talked
make
about it
that
quite a
argument.
bit. They talked about it quite a bit. That was a lot of the pushback coming from the bench against Colorado was there.
Well, yes. What I'm referring to is the due process in the first
Mm-hmm.
section in reference to the third process and whether or not Trump received his due process. And I again I agree with facts on how that was presented, because I don't remember which justice it was, but it stuck out to me when one of them said, we have the in the amendment, we have the clear dictation that Congress is to take up this issue and resolve it. And I'm paraphrasing, I'm not using the exact verbiage he did, but he made that statement and then he pointed to the federal statutes. And when he made that statement, I thought, oh, well, that seems pretty cut and dry the way he presented it. But there's a lot of talk that is going on in the media about this subject. And I'm not trying to say that the media is right. I'm just saying that it seems kind of disingenuous the way that the media is presenting it, because it seems like they're just presenting an entirely different story than what the arguments were in court today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll push back on that a little bit, only to say is that people trying to navigate whether this would be a textual argument. Because again, if you look at the language in Section 3, it's a disqualifying clause. You got to be 35, you got to be a natural born citizen, and you can't have engaged in insurrection and or rebellion.
Yeah, they were
Right? So
talking a lot about whether Section 3 was self-executing,
exactly.
or whether there needed to be some federal statute, and there isn't any
And,
federal statute.
and I do find that also interesting because they kept prodding, say, can you give us an example of precedent? And the one moment that I did appreciate from the Colorado attorney was, no, we've never had a former president try to overturn the will of the people. So, he didn't say it that sarcastically, but I do thought that was an interesting component. Again, I don't think the expectation was, at least I didn't have it, that this case was going to be, Colorado was going to win. So, Matt, I'm not sure about you on that. I think you made it clear that you didn't think they were either, or maybe I'm wrong
Well,
about that.
No. I mean, even yesterday when we talked, I said that I am excited that it's getting presented before the Supreme Court
Sure.
because I want that clarity. Whether it was or wasn't, whether he did or didn't, whether he's eligible or not, I don't care. What I don't want is some precedent to be set and not challenged to where all of a sudden we have this tit for tat back and forth from side to
Mm.
side, accusing the other side of being a part of an insurrection of some kind or aiding or whatever. As long as we go down this road of loosely defining things and accusing people of things, what's to stop the Republicans from doing the same thing to the Democrats? I don't
Well,
I don't want that in any world.
Well, interestingly enough, that was
Mm.
actually a point that they were making. That was a discussion that they were having. The judge asked, so what stops other states from trying to disqualify candidates, referring obviously to Democratic candidates? And the response from the Colorado attorney, and it was the second one, it was the Solicitor General of Colorado, and what she said was, look, we have to trust the system to work. We have to trust
Exactly.
that if somebody wants to do that, that lawsuit's going to get thrown out because it's got no legs, because you can't prove that someone else, there's another presidential candidate that tried to, commit insurrection, because there isn't right now.
Right.
There could
Right.
be later, but there isn't one right now.
And I think by technically by definition, it's Anderson versus Trump, right? It's not
Yes.
Colorado. It's Anderson.
Yeah, but I'm going to call Colorado. It's easier.
Yeah, I think it's easier.
Yeah.
People know what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's the thing about what you said about precedent. The Supreme Court, as a general rule, does not make overarching decisions. They don't. What they usually do is their decisions deal with just whatever the small issue is and nothing else, because they don't want to be, or they try not to be, legislators. They try to simply say, this is what happens in this situation, and they let the various lawmakers work around their decision. That's what they do. That is what they usually do. That's what they historically do. So I don't see how they're going to say, well, he is or he isn't. They're simply going to say, not in this case for this reason. Whether it's going to be because, I don't think they're going to go with president is not an officer. I really don't think they're going to go there, not based on what I
Right.
heard. They're going to say either he didn't get due process, or there needs to be a federal statute, or what was the third one? One. I think it'll be one of those. That's why they're going to overturn the decision by the Colorado court.
Fair enough.
Do you think
I
that?
don't. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm
Sorry, Matt. No, what
Go ahead.
I was saying was, I don't think they're going to really go with, well, he can run. It's not about whether he can run; it's whether he can serve, because that is too little. Because that opens the question up for later, and I don't think they want that either.
Yeah, they want to be done with this. What was your question, Matt?
Matt's got one bar.
Matt.
Damn it.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, there he is.
I don't know why. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got you now. Yep.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Why do you think it is that Trump wasn't charged under the federal statute for insurrection?
Because it's very
I think
hard
that's
to prove.
Yeah, I think that's part of the question, right? I mean, again, I think when you, I'm almost speak for Dave, but from my experience talking to prosecutors, is that you want to look for the cases that you can prove easily. You go for the charges that are easily winnable. And again, I don't think Jack Smith. People were saying Jack Smith screwed up in this. I don't think so. I don't think he anticipated the state of Colorado, attempting to have Trump removed from the ballot. I mean, his indictments were built for speed, right?
And to just throw him in jail.
Exactly.
So another good example of this is the fact that Jack Smith did not charge him with a speech on the ellipse, because there's a big First Amendment defense, and then whatever jury would have to kind of think about it would have to say, does it fall under the hate speech exception, the fighting words exemption of the First Amendment, which is a very, very, very narrow exemption. Or
Mm-hmm.
does he go for the low-hanging fruit, the shit that's easy to
Right.
prove?
Right. And I think that was the tack that they took, Matt. Anything else, brother?
Do you guys think that I, you know, I know that we've got a couple generations of people that have witnessed all of this unfold, and while we're sitting here talking about whether or not the Supreme Court is going to overturn this, the reality is that the accusation has been made that Trump engaged in insurrection. Do you think that there is any? Do you think that there is going to be any future consequence? And of course, my crystal ball's been broken, so I don't know.
All of ours have.
Do you think there's going to be any future? Do you think there's going to be any future consequence from this behavior that is going to cause loosely thrown around accusations to accomplish the same thing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the danger that we because everything has become politicized, I think people will use decisions like this and or allegations like this to kind of bob and weave, to use an old boxing term, to try to create language to support their political agenda. Specifically, let me just finish. So the way I see it is that the language is very clear, right? The language is very clear that we have disqualifying clauses in our Constitution that makes someone ineligible. So the language is vague enough where I think the Supreme Court has, to Dave's point earlier, they've got wiggle room in their ruling. So if your question, Matt, is do these things kind of continue from a retribution perspective? Absolutely. I would expect them to.
I'll use a different example. Impeachment. Up until Bush 2, impeachment was a very, very serious endeavor. Trump comes in, commits to obviously impeachable acts. First, trying to strong arm a foreign leader to get dirt in a political opponent, and then committing an insurrection.
Right.
And now you have the Republican House with their thin as hell majority trying to impeach Biden.
Right.
Why? For the lulz.
Exactly. I mean, and to say, and for him to campaign saying, well, if Trump's got an impeachment, so does Biden as well. It's purely political. Political. And to Dave's point, I think we need to be very clear. High crimes and misdemeanors are the bar. So when you're attempting to extort a president of a foreign land by illegally withholding congressionally appropriated funds, that qualifies as a high crime and misdemeanor. When you lead an insurrection and you're derelict in your duties as president, the oath that you took to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that's also a high crime and misdemeanor. So the bar is established. Bill Clinton got impeached not for getting a BJ in the Oval Office. He got impeached for lying about it.
It's never the crime; it's the cover-up.
Correct. Exactly.
I mean that's it. That's all there is to it. Impeachment is now an unserious endeavor now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous, and it's going to, until and unless we have a serious shakeup of our government, and I mean top to bottom. We're gonna continue to be unserious, and that's a problem.
Anything else, Matt?
Yeah, let's argue a little bit.
About what? We agree about most everything.
Well, I think that there's going to be some heavy consequences for the behavior through the last few years.
For whose behavior?
Well,
you mean Republicans, Democrats, who?
Yeah, whose behavior?
I would say everyone's.
Well, be specific though. What behavior are you talking about?
The behavior in I'll use the Mayorkas impeachment hearings as an example.
Are you driving?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm parked
All
in
right,
a
so
parking lot at a
let's try to
McDonald's.
land the plane here because I've got some other people that want to come up. So let's pick one more topic here, okay?
Okay. Long-term consequences, undermining the communication of facts around things. It seems
For
like there's
example,
going to be a deep-seated
for
distrust in the media
okay,
and reporting on political
but
components.
Matt, but for example, let's be specific, okay? So for example, you mean what?
Well, um, that's a great question. I'll use the oral arguments today in reference to the Colorado taking Trump off of the ballot.
Okay.
The information that's been shared about that was not necessarily what the arguments were being made in the briefs. They were 38,000 feet vague statements that weren't honest to what the arguments actually were. We could switch over
Well,
to conservative
how
media
would you
and
know? But how would you know though? How would you know what the arguments were? I mean, I guess if you're talking about, I mean, are you asking that the attorneys prior to any case need to disclose to the American public what their arguments are going to be?
no.
Okay.
There are assumptions and presumptions that were made by the media when they didn't have the facts.
Like what?
That's what media
Like what?
does.
Right. But what assumption? What assumption was made?
The assumptions
Matt.
based
Okay.
on the. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But what
I was
assumption?
at McDonald's. I rolled my window down.
It's okay. What assumption? What assumptions were made? Matt. Okay. Why don't you request to come back up, bro? We'll talk again. No problem. Okay. All
I
right.
didn't understand what he was talking about at the end there.
Me
I
neither. That's
didn't
why I
get
was
it.
trying to drag it out of him.
Mhm.
Admiral, how are you this evening?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
Good, good. Well, I just wanted to come up here and, in my opinion, I was listening to the whole oral argument this morning, and Justice Jackson brought up a very good point when she asked, what happens to the other states where the Secretary of the State and everybody else does not need to, basically, in a simpler way, is they don't need any excuse to take somebody off the ballots, meaning that if they hold up and says that, Colorado can uphold their own stuff, well, how's that going to work with the other states, like let's say Florida, who can just come in and say, nope, we don't like Biden, we're going to take him off the ballot because they don't need any excuse. They don't need
Well,
any criminal
that's not
charges.
exactly what they ruled. The question was whether or not there needs to be a mechanism or there needs to be something that would qualify as a reason to pull somebody off the ballot. You can't just remove somebody from the ballot. So keep in mind, federal elections in our country are run by the states. Each state has their own way they manage elections, from how long your polling hours are open to mail-in ballots, absentee ballots, how they count, what the rules are. So a federal election are run by the state. So to your point, I don't think she asked the question that way. I want to get Dave's opinion on that in a second. I guess the question was, if they were to make this decision and support what the Constitution says, I think it's Article 2, that talks about states running federal elections, there's got to be reason. So the reason that this case went to court today was because of this. So Colorado and Anderson, the plaintiffs in this case, said, because of this article or Amendment 14, Section 3, insurrection, that's the reason that they wanted to remove Trump from the ballot.
Okay. So then how does that work with today's ruling on Biden then? Because then, let's say states like Florida and all that, in their opinion, they can come back and say, well, the DOJ ruling says, well, we're not going to charge Biden, but due to his so-called memory loss, well, can they just come back and say, you know what? We feel that he's not fit to be the president.
No, they can't. No.
They can't.
There are very specific reasons why somebody can and cannot run for president. Those reasons are being over the age of 35, being a natural-born citizen, not having run twice previously, And finally,
No, you can run. You just can't hold the office.
well, yeah, you can't. And finally, having engaged in insurrection.
Right.
Okay, that was it. So you can't make them up. Well, I just don't like the way that guy looks at me. I don't like the way he smells. That doesn't work that way. And I'll give you, and to answer your question, the original question, I'll give you the same answer that the Colorado Solicitor General gave to Justice, I think it was Justice Jackson, which he said is, look, we have a system for this stuff. And we have to trust the system to work. If somebody wants to try that, we have to trust the fact that the courts will rule correctly. Either the lower courts or ultimately this court. That's it. What will likely happen, I'm going to say what will likely happen is after this ruling comes down, and like I said, I'm pretty sure it's going to be it's not going to be a 5-4, it's going to be an 8-1 or a 9-0, allowing him to stay on the ballot. I have a feeling that every other state is simply going to say, you know what, no mas. And they're not going to bother and just going to let the process work itself out.
But I mean, I understand.
Hello? What is it with connections today?
0.5G, Patriot Mobile. You can request again. You can come back up. Get better service.
Yeah.
It's paid.
Oh, he's still here. You dropped him, but he's still here. Oh, interesting.
He's Patriot Mobile. Yeah. So I don't know either, but I think you're gone. Hold on a second here. All right, hold on a second. I'm just going to disconnect you there, and then Okay, hold on a second. You're not even in my viewer box, so I don't know what's
I
going
don't
on
see
there.
him. I just hear him.
Can you just scroll out of the live, sir? Just
Yeah.
scroll out of the live and just leave that way, okay?
What?
Okay.
That's
You're
wild.
not here. I don't know what's going on.
This is wild. Can one of the mods drop him? Maybe
I
that'll
don't
work.
know because I can't even see him.
I mean,
They say you
he
can't
seemed
hear him.
fine. He shouldn't be banned. But I'm just like,
Yeah, I think
are you
he's
still
gone now.
here? I guess he's gone.
I think he's gone now. Okay. So, all right. So again, I just want to level set on a couple of things that I don't think that was an accurate assessment that I gave, and I want to just kind of level set. I think his point was what's to keep other states from trying to just remove Joe Biden from the ballot. And I think the argument is that there are mechanisms that we just learned this. I mean, that's what we went through today.
Yeah.
It's a very, very narrow disqualification elements in our Constitution that would keep someone off a ballot. More specifically, keep somebody from holding office. Got to be 35, got to be a natural-born citizen. You can't have served, you can't apply for a third term, and you can't have engaged in insurrection and or rebellion. So that's the bar that's been established. So if Florida can try, sure, Florida can try to do that, but it's going to be the same scenario, right? You can't. So I think it's really important, Mag, for you guys to understand is part of the argument. We don't know what we don't know the decision. We don't know the language in their decision. We don't know what they're going to say. But part of what they said is, I think it was Elena Kagan who was doing her questioning. If we were to allow one state to do this, then how does that impact other states across the country? So if they're going to be sincere in that and use that as part of the ruling, then this case is over in theory, because nobody can bring that up again, which I do find interesting that because states do run federal elections, states do have the authority to decide how they want their elections to be run, including the people that are on the ballot. But we'll see. We'll see what they decide.
Well, the interesting part was during their conversations, during the back and forth argument, a lot of the justices, both left and right, were talking about how they're not sure if this can be allowed without a federal statute, even though the Constitution charges the states with running federal elections.
Yeah,
it's wild. It's a very wild argument.
Right, and the thing I'm still going back to this, Dave, is that when that again it was Kavanaugh that was questioning, like, wouldn't that be disenfranchising voters? I'm thinking, well, that's the reason that they were there today because of the
Yeah.
attempt to disenfranchise voters. I mean,
There's no, and yeah, there's no way. Don't try. What I know a lot of people try to do is they try to square these circles, and you shouldn't, because
yeah, that's fair.
the circles change case for case.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, I'll bring up Mark. Please continue to like and share, friends. Tap, tap, tap. Good evening, Mark. How are you tonight?
Just listening to your conversation there, but I think that what was more important in that conversation, in the hearing today, was the fact that there is a method by which someone is declared and convicted of insurrection, and the state does not have the right to just automatically declare somebody an insurrectionist because they feel that they are.
I don't think so. That's not what's happened, though, because the state did declare. And if you listen to the hearing, the trial judge and the Supreme Court in Colorado both affirmed that he engaged in insurrection. That's been settled. That's factual. And to Dave's point, when the Supreme Court writes their ruling, they might. I'll be curious as to what they say. So I just want to make sure that we're speaking factually, because that wasn't even discussed. There was really no pushback on that at all today.
So I have a little. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mark. Go ahead. I'm interrupting you. No, Mark. Finish your thought, because I'm going to add something to what Fact just said.
Yeah, so no, there most certainly was the conversation about the Constitution pointing out to who has the power to basically deal with insurrection, and it said Congress, and that's why they created the Insurrection Act. And
Mark, I think you misunderstood the argument.
Yeah.
What they weren't talking about that. What they were talking about was, when you're talking about an election for president, because it is really the only completely federal office that any state runs. Every other election in the state is either a state election for a state office, or it's an election for a senator or a congressperson. But those are still not, while they're federal offices, they only count for that state. Whereas the election for president, that counts for all states.
Right.
So what they were debating, and it really was a debate. It wasn't so much a legal argument back and forth, but a debate. They were debating among themselves whether Congress needed to enact some statute to kind of complement Section 3 of the 14th Amendment when it comes to ruling that a president has committed insurrection and is ineligible for office. Because the 14th Amendment, Section 3, does not say president. It says office holder.
Yeah, that was
and elector. So what they're basically, the line they're drawing is, this could work for any other election, but when you're talking about a presidential election, a state can't do it. The feds must do it. There was no ruling. It was a lot of back and forth.
Right. Yeah. It was really just the submission of all the facts and everything. No, they absolutely did, and I maybe go back and watch, but they absolutely did touch on the topic of the Insurrection Act, Congress being the power, and that to that point, they talked about how it wouldn't be. Well, not that it wouldn't be, but it necessarily wouldn't be so great if justices did do that, because they would have rules in their courts. Judges would have different, pieces of evidence that they would allow and disallow, and all this and the other thing. So it definitely did come up. It was definitely a huge part of it, and from the very beginning, when I was watching that hearing in the Supreme Court over there in Colorado, that's exactly what my thought was. Like, how are they determining that he's an insurrectionist?
They determined it during the trial, in the trial court.
Right.
Yeah, but you can't
So they,
That's
convict
when you
somebody
that's
of a
when you
crime
determine
without due
that's when you
process,
determine
right?
factual issues.
Right,
one
but
at
you
a time,
can't.
Mark.
I'm sorry?
But you can't convict somebody of a crime without due process, right? You have to be charged with the
Well,
crime
well,
and then
here's the
have
thing,
the
Mark. He
ability to
had
defend
due
yourself,
Guys,
correct?
hold on.
Mark.
Guys, stop. Both of you.
Mhm.
One at a time. Okay? Nobody
Okay.
can hear when you're both talking at the same time.
Sorry about
So
that.
it's okay. So Dave, please answer Mark's question specifically because I can do that if
So
you want.
Mark, let's talk about the due process thing.
Yeah.
He had due process. So in the lower court, I believe it's called the Colorado District Court, is when the factual trial took place, when the plaintiff in that case, Anderson, brought the allegation that Trump committed an insurrection. And at that point, Trump appeared, or his team appeared, and everybody presented evidence, and there was a factual decision was made. And what that lower court found, and they did it, I believe, simply to not be the court who makes this decision. What they found was, yes, he committed insurrection, but the president is not an officer under 14 Section 3. Then the intermediate appellate court in Colorado did not overturn the factual finding that he committed insurrection, but overturned the legal finding that no, president is in office. This was then affirmed by the Colorado Supreme Court, and now here it is in the federal Supreme Court, the Supreme Court of the United States.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, engaged in, not committed. That's the ruling that they made, that it was engaged in.
Yeah.
Right, but that was
Committed is a criminal act.
you're talking about the hearing about the whole ballot issue, right?
No, we're talking
No.
about the Colorado trial court made the determination that he engaged in insurrection, and
That
then
was
that
what,
was
report or
no. Let me finish, okay? The
yeah.
Colorado District Court, based on what Dave just described, so we got due process. There was a 5-day trial. Witnesses were presented. The evidence was presented. The Colorado District Court made the determination that he, in fact, engaged in insurrection. The Colorado Supreme Court affirmed that. They also added that based on the evidence, based on their interpretation of Amendment 14, Section 3, that he was, in fact, an officer and that he could be removed from the ballot. What we went through today was the appeal by the Trump team to the Supreme Court to either affirm that decision or reject that decision.
Right.
So the evidence has been affirmed not only by the trial court in Colorado, but also the Supreme Court in Colorado that he did in fact engage in insurrection.
Right. What I'm saying, and maybe I didn't convey what I'm trying to say properly. So in other words, what I'm saying is there's something called the Insurrection Act, right?
Yep.
Yes.
It's criminal statute.
Correct.
Yes. 18 USC 2830 something. Yeah.
Right. So in order to be an insurrectionist, you need to be convicted of insurrection.
No.
Incorrect.
Well, then you're not an insurrectionist. If you have
Incorrect.
due process in front of the criminal court that is accusing you, charging you with insurrection, then you're not an insurrectionist. That's literally
No, you're absolutely wrong.
charge.
You're utterly and completely wrong. I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
Because election law is not criminal law. Election law, which is what this is civil law.
Correct.
Okay? All you need to do is to have a court find by preponderance of the evidence that you committed insurrection. That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Say that.
I'm sorry?
Where's that written at?
I'll tell you. You want to know where it's written? It's written in logic. You know why? Because the Insurrection Act was enacted in 1948, whereas Article 4, Section 3 was enacted in 1867.
Right.
Yeah, and keep in mind,
That's it.
Mark, keep in mind, Mark, when this was created, no one in the Confederacy was ever charged with and or convicted of insurrection.
Right.
Unfortunately.
So again,
Because I believe if they would, we wouldn't be having this. If that had happened, I don't think we'd be having this conversation.
right. So Dave, so Mark, Dave is absolutely right. Okay, there does not need to be a criminal conviction and or to remove somebody from the ballot. Keep in mind, the ballot, to be on the ballot, just requires you got to be 35, natural born citizen, and not to have engaged in insurrection or rebellion. So it's civil. Okay.
Right. But this is what I'm saying, and this is where I agree with the line of questioning of the SCOTUS, like pretty much all of them, and that is that a state doesn't get to just declare somebody an insurrectionist.
They do though, but they've already done that.
But
We're
going to find out if
did
they
that.
do, right? I mean, that's what this is
Right,
all about.
but Mark, again, the statement of facts. Hang on. The statement of facts are specific. The trial court judge already determined that. So did the Supreme Court. And again, we have to wait for the ruling. So neither you nor I or Dave can say definitively that he's not an insurrectionist. We can't say that. You don't know it. I don't know it. We know what we saw that day. But the letter of the law, hold on. The letter of the law specifically says insurrection by definition is a violent act or uprising against a government or authority. January 6th was an insurrection. There's no doubt about that. What we're determining is whether or not, based on the nuances within the language of the law, officers, states' rights, the impact on a federal election, whether or not it can be removed.
Right.
I'll do you one better.
Those are the facts.
I'll do you one better. What the Supreme Court is determining at this point is essentially whether the declaration of a presidential candidate being an insurrectionist in one state disqualifies him from the ballot to be president.
Correct.
If this was an election for senator of Colorado or congressperson from Colorado, we wouldn't be having this argument.
That's right.
But it's not.
That's right.
Okay. Well, I mean, guys, I do think that I don't agree with you, but I guess we're going to see once they,
Well, what don't you agree with, though?
And write their opinions, right? I like to read.
I'm curious, though. What don't you agree with?
I don't agree. Number one, that it was an insurrection. I don't agree.
Hang
on one second,
valid.
Dave, please. Hang on one second. Mark, why don't you think it was an insurrection?
Because it's not an insurrection. Insurrection is an armed rebellion against the government.
It's not.
Well, to me, it's not. That's what I'm saying.
But that's not what it is, though.
But
Mark, let's be clear about what it is, okay? Let's be clear. So if you want to have a conversation, I'll have it. We got to come up with some ground rules. We can't be talking over everybody. That includes me, that includes Dave, that includes you. Conversation specifically. An insurrection by definition is a violent act or uprising against a government or authority. Okay? So what was the name of the rally that day in DC? What was the name of the rally?
I don't remember.
It's called Stop the Steal. So what was alleged to have been stolen?
The vote.
Okay, so was the election stolen?
I mean, look, I can't say yes or no.
Simple question.
No,
Simple question, Mark. Was the election stolen? Yes
I can't answer that because it hasn't been tried and
that's why you're in a cult.
Yeah. By the way, just to say this before the next person comes up.
Yep.
There's a great saying. It's in law, it's in everything, but extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. The extraordinary claim that the election was stolen requires extraordinary proof. And in 60 plus court cases, they could not produce an ounce of proof. 60 times it was tried in 60 different courts. In some states, because there's 60 courts, in 2 courts in a single state. At no time were they able to prove any of their claims.
No, none. So I just want to give this is a little heads up for people. Listen, if we're now talking over 3 years since the election of 2020, all right? If you still think that the election was stolen, then please don't bother requesting, because I'm just not going to have that conversation with you, because it's just nonsense, and you should do better. Just seriously, do better than that. Just do better. Do better. Be informed. Please like and share, guys. Continue to tap.
Hey,
Good evening, Mike. How are you tonight?
Hey, how are you?
Fine. What's on your mind this evening?
So, in an insurrection, isn't the penalty no more than 10 years in prison?
Hold on. I'll look it up. I was looking at it today. Hold on. It's actually.
What's the point?
Hold on.
What's the point of your question? What's the point of your question, Mike?
My question is, when we find out that it is, what civil law has a penalty like that for a crime?
Hey,
it's
Mike,
not a civil. It's not civil.
Dave, hold on one second. Mike, you have a reputation of trying to get lives banned. Is that your intention to come here tonight?
I've never done that in my life. I don't even know how to.
Right. Okay. Of course you have.
You know that dude?
Oh yeah. I've seen him do it.
What do we got? Who's next?
Hey, Jeff. How are you tonight?
Oh,
So, Dave,
sorry.
just FYI, you're so close to your keyboard that it sounds like hammers when you're banging on it. So please just be
Sorry,
mindful of that.
I like
Okay.
I like those kinds of keyboards. Sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Hi, Fax. I'm all right. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm sorry. I must have hit the button. I'm so sorry.
It's okay, brother. I'll drop you down. No problem.
All right.
Thanks a lot. You got it.
Before you bring the next person up, I want to read US 18 US Code 2383, rebellion
Sure.
or insurrection.
Sure.
Whoever incites, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under the title or imprisoned, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. So that is the law that was enacted on June 25th, 1948. Notice it does not define what an insurrection or a rebellion is. All it says is if you engage in those things. So it doesn't say what one is.
Right. And once again, part of the exercise that we went through today with SCOTUS was whether or not Amendment 14, Section 3 is self-executing. They talked about that quite a bit. The facts are not in debate. January 6th was an insurrection. There is no doubt in anyone's mind. Even the justices today, they didn't push back on that. There was debate about it, but they didn't push back on it. And you'll notice that the only person who said that it wasn't was Trump's lawyer. Okay, it was an insurrection. So again,
and he didn't say, and he wasn't pushing that point very strongly. Even he knew it was a loser.
And by the way, just so you know, MAGA, right after the hearings today, Trump, before he flew out to Nevada for the caucus, said, and I quote, "I think it was an insurrection caused by Nancy Pelosi." End quote.
How?
So even
I don't understand how.
Even the guy who is saying that, even the guy who went to court today to make sure that he could stay on the ballot because he was engaged in insurrection, has admitted it. MAGA, do you not take that as gospel? I mean, I don't know. But let's continue. Again, friends, like and share, keep tapping. Let's get to 50K. Thank you very much. Hey, George, how are you tonight? George Castle. George. Okay, George. Thank you. Going once, going twice. George is gone.
I wish my brother George were here.
I wish my brother George were here.
You know it.
I sure do. All right. Thank you, friends. Hey, we're trying to get to everybody tonight. Really appreciate your patience. Big topic, lots to cover today. And it does not look like you're connecting. I'm sorry. Let's see. I want to have this conversation with somebody that I just saw in the chat. Where is that conversation? Over right, no double standard. So I just saw somebody made this silly comment about Nancy Pelosi and the National Guard. Please request so we can have that conversation.
Oh God.
I would really appreciate that. I'm ready.
I'm not.
I am. I got it. Hey, Jason.
Hi, how you doing?
Jason McCall. Good. Are you driving?
Yeah, I got a question.
Are you driving?
And tell you your voice.
Oh my God.
Bro. That's an insurrection. But what about Maxine Waters and Nancy Pelosi and all the other people and all the rest of them saying,
Jason,
raise your voices and fight.
Bro, God damn, dude, take a breath. One thing at a time. Okay, Jason, I'm going to unmute you, and hopefully your service is better because I heard every other word. Let's start again. Okay, what was your point?
My point is Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, and a lot of other Democrats went out there when Trump was elected in 2016 and said, fight and raise hell, right. And then you had BLM burning down cities and everything else. But that was not an insurrection?
Jason, no, it wasn't, because it wasn't
That's my question.
On the government. It wasn't.
Oh, it was.
No,
but when Trump said, go and let your voices be heard peacefully.
God,
That's an
MAGA has no self-control. Literally no self-control. Let's try this again, Jason. Okay? Let's try this again. If you'd like to have a conversation, it requires a bit of self-control. Okay? You can unmute. You can unmute. Take a deep breath. You can unmute, Jason. Okay?
You don't have to unmute him because I know what his question is.
I know too. I know too. I got it. Jason, you can unmute. I'll send you another invite. Okay.
vaccine.
So, Jason,
What about all the
stop.
Democrats that did the
Jason,
same
I'm
thing?
trying to answer your question, but you got to stop talking. Why don't you go be a dad? How about that? Jesus Christ. Unbelievable. Look,
To answer.
Hold on one second.
Oh,
Hang
go
on,
ahead.
Dave. I get accused a lot of not wanting to talk to people, but you can't have a conversation with people if all you're going to do is sit up here and ramble. If you want to have a conversation, I'll have a conversation. But you can't just, you're not going to come in here and just spew nonsense without an opportunity to rebut. Okay? Plus the fact that you got kids screaming in the background. Be a dad. Go hang out with them. That's more important. Seriously. Unbelievable.
Let's answer the question that he was trying to ask. Well, he wasn't answering. He was making a statement. What he was referring to was a statement by Maxine Waters that called for protesters to get more confrontation if there was no guilty verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial. And the difference between that and an insurrection is that what she was saying is get confrontational with the cops, get confrontational with authorities, not go to a state or a federal capital and overturn the election or overturn the what do you call it, the normal government administration. That's the difference. Okay, there's
exactly
a First Amendment right to protest, and that right is almost absolute until you're trying to overthrow the government.
Yeah. Sam Bergini, how are you tonight?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
Oh, just ask what's more important, the Second Amendment or the 14th?
Yeah, what's more important?
The second.
Why?
Because that protects the 14th.
It does.
Because what?
Because why? Again, because it protects the 14th. Okay, so are all amendments created equal?
Are all what?
Are all amendments created equal?
That's up for debate. I mean, in my personal thoughts on it, yeah. But
okay, so let me ask you a question then. So if the Supreme Court decides that Donald Trump is ineligible to run for office, would you accept it?
He's ineligible to run for office. Why is that?
I'm asking you. Are you driving, by the way?
No.
Okay, so I'm
a passenger.
Okay, you're a passenger. Okay, so if the Supreme Court decides that he's ineligible to hold office based on the Constitution, will you accept that?
No.
Okay, so then therefore, hold on. So then therefore, not all amendments in your mind are created equal.
Yeah, they should be created equal, but reality is that, they're probably not, and they were, should have been, I guess, but...
I have another question for you.
Hold on.
How about...
I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
Hold on, Dave, hold on. So, again, that's kind of my point, Sam, is that you can't have it both ways, right? You cannot make a claim that... Hold on. You can't have it both ways. You can't say that the Second Amendment is the most important amendment, and that because you don't get a ruling that would go in your favor, that you can't have it both ways. So more specifically, if I ask you this, if the Supreme Court decides that Trump can be on the ballot, will you accept that ruling?
Yeah, I accept that.
You see what I mean, man? You can't have it both ways. If a decision goes against you, and if you want to use the Constitution,
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Okay. So that's kind of the point here, right? So you can't. I see this with MAGA a lot, and I'm not going to make any assumptions about you, put you in a box. But what I've seen is people picking and choosing. Like I've had people tell me that if if a court rules against Trump, then the courts are corrupt. Then I say if they rule in favor of Trump, then the courts aren't corrupt. So I'll ask you that same question. If in the Mar-a-Lago documents case, for example, if they find him guilty, will you accept that verdict?
I mean, I don't have to accept. I mean, yeah, I have to accept it, but I don't have to like it.
Okay, but you'll accept it.
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
What's the other choice?
Well, exactly. That's exactly right. So that's what the rule of law means. So then you're a Trump voter then, I'm assuming. Is that a fair assumption?
No, I'm independent.
Okay, who'd you vote for in 2020?
I don't vote for, I vote against.
Who'd you vote for in 2020?
I'll tell you who I voted against for. I'll tell you
who did you
voted against.
Stop playing games. Stop playing games, man. Who did you vote for in 2020?
Well, see, that's just it. I don't vote for anybody. I vote against. I voted against Biden,
okay.
So naturally
what
that would.
Name did you put? So you voted for Trump. Okay, so you voted for Trump. Thank you. So are you planning on voting for him again?
Absolutely.
Okay, so is there any line that he can cross with you that you'll stop voting for him?
Yeah, if he asks, or asking like Biden.
We're not talking about Biden. I'm talking about Trump.
I know we're not. But you asked me a question. I was answering it.
Right. So there's no line that he could cross that you would stop voting for him?
Yeah, I just said, if he did any of the things that Biden did, yeah, I would have voted for him.
What did Biden do? Oh. Hold on, Dave. What has Biden done?
What's he done about immigration? I mean, he can't control it. He can't control it. I'm from Texas. So.
Sam, specifically, not rhetoric, specifically, what has Biden done specifically?
Stole the South, for one.
So without any evidence. So Donald Trump sexually abused a woman. That's not a line for you?
Who did he sexually assault?
E. Jean Carroll.
I don't buy that.
And that's why you're in a cult and you're a fucking pig. So have a good night. So Dave, just to be clear, please don't interrupt when we're talking, okay? Sorry. I know it's hard. I promise you I'll give you a chance. I promise. But when I'm in the middle of a conversation, it's just frustrating.
I'm sorry. It's hard.
I know.
It's hard.
Just that. I want you to be here, but we got to try to play in the same box.
Sure.
Where's Jem? You can mute. I mean, if it's easier for you, just mute, and then they can turn your mic off. That's probably easier. Where'd you go, Jem? Request again, my friend. Okay. Hello, Dylan. How are you tonight?
How are you, sir? How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind?
Yeah.
A lot. Inflation, immigration, a lot of shit's on my mind. A million gotaways, a million people coming across my border. 18 years as an Army Ranger veteran I did in my in the military. It's kind of a slap in my face when the exiting of Afghanistan from Biden left $80 million in equipment over there. A lot of stuff.
Dylan, okay, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's take these one at a time. So you're a veteran.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you took an oath to preserve, protect, defend the Constitution, right?
Yep.
So are you cool with Donald Trump calling veterans suckers and losers?
Can you prove he said that?
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Are you cool with him mocking John McCain and saying he wasn't a hero because he got captured?
I don't believe he said that. Okay.
Okay. So you don't. How do you feel about him telling Mark Milley to not bring disabled vets because he doesn't like seeing them?
Never said that.
Yes, he did. How about the fact that he took Vladimir Putin's word over our own internal intelligence agencies when it came to bounties on the heads of soldiers in Afghanistan? How do you feel about that?
How many wars have we been in since Biden's been president?
Answer my question, Dylan.
What was your question?
How do you feel about Donald Trump taking Vladimir Putin's words when it came to bounties on the heads of soldiers in Afghanistan?
I don't think he did that.
So, Dylan, are you willing to believe anything, or do you just have a narrative in your head that is just so deep that you literally are unwilling to accept anything what I just told you. Why would I lie to you?
Why would you lie to me? Same reason politicians lie to us.
I'm not a politician. Why would I lie to you? Why would I tell you that information?
Why would I tell to indoctrinate me? I guess I don't know.
I think you've done a pretty good job of indoctrinating yourself. Dave, you have a question?
Him the audio.
Sure.
Hold on a second, Dylan. The audio of Trump talking on C-SPAN regarding McCain. Let me see, make sure my volume's all the way up. Actually, hold on.
So before you play it, Dave. So Dylan, when Dave plays you the audio of what I was just talking about John McCain, will you accept it then?
I'd have to do my own research and get my own facts.
That's not the question I asked you. The question I'm asking
No,
you
I will not accept it because I have to do my own research first. I'll have to fact check it.
Okay, that's why you're in a cult.
Yeah, it's not even worth it. It's not worth playing it.
No, it's just not. I mean, again, it's just, oh my God.
You want to know? I got to tell you something. The dude before him, that hurt my. I just want to know one thing. If they're so proud of being Trumpers, of being MAGA, why, when they are actually in the box, when we can hear their voice, is it always, I'm an independent. I'm not a Republican.
Because they're afraid.
Trump voter.
Because they're cowards. Because they're cowards.
It's not even that. They're not proud of who they like. They know it makes them look like shitheels. So they don't want it. They're stuck.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So listen, MAGA, this is real, okay? You accuse myself and Dave and people that are on the left of being indoctrinated. Well, the reality is what I just shared with you is factual, okay? He did call soldiers suckers and losers. He did mock John McCain. He did tell Mark Milley that don't bring disabled vets here because I don't like the way it makes me look. He was with a former chief of staff of his when he was overseas that his son lost his life in service to his country, and he asked him specifically at the gravesite, what's in it for them? He mocks veterans. He's done it his entire life. And any veteran that supports him, as far as I'm concerned, you're an oath-breaking traitor. That's the reality behind it. Sorry that makes you feel uncomfortable. Actually, I'm not sorry. Good evening, Scott. How are you tonight?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just seen where the Second Amendment and 14th Amendment, why are they both important to...
What's more important to you?
I think they're both equally important.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Because you can't have a constitution and pick and choose which ones you want to support, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Anything else on your mind?
No, I just didn't know what the as far as the argument was, if there was even one.
The argument is that so many people, we've already seen it this evening, that people will pick and choose what elements of the Constitution they will like if it supports their narrative. And so that's why I asked the question. So who did you vote for in 2020, if you don't mind me asking?
Trump.
Okay, would you plan on voting for him again?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so for sure.
Yeah.
So so is there a line for you?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
What's the line?
Anything other than what the left's been saying.
Okay, let's be sincere and have a conversation,
okay.
Scott. Let's not worry about right or left. Okay? Let's for the sake of this conversation, let's not worry about right or left.
Okay.
Okay? I'm asking you specifically, what's the line for you that he would no longer get your support?
I think do anything that would directly jeopardize the country as far as willingly and knowingly and intently doing it. Besides him just being ignorant to the...
Okay. So like obstructing justice. What about that?
If it was obstruction of justice, we'll say that.
Okay, so he's been accused of that. That's in the Mar-a-Lago documents case.
Yes, he's been accused of that.
Right. So if he's found guilty for that, would you still support him?
I
Hey, Scott, can you turn off whatever that noise is, bro? And just try to stop for a second so we can have a conversation?
Give me 1 second. Hold on.
Okay.
Hey, Alexa, stop timer. Yeah, absolutely. Given the alternative that we get to choose two presidents, I would choose Trump.
Okay, that's not the question I asked you. Again, we're trying to talk about what your line is. So if you said I gave you obstruction of justice for an example. So if he's found guilty of obstruction of justice, would you still vote for him?
I would.
Really?
Yeah.
So because you just talked about putting the country in danger. So
For
what's
sure.
the document? What's the documents case about in Mar-a-Lago?
Withholding documents. I guess the original charge would be withholding documents.
Actually, it was obstruction. It was obstruction of justice. And
it became obstruction because they were looking for documents.
Well, that was part of the indictment.
But the original reason why they went there was to get documents.
Right, because he obstructed justice.
But the original crime. See, this is like getting pulled over in an ID state, and what was the original reason why I was pulled over? Well, you didn't show your ID. No, why was I pulled over? Why are you at my house or in my car or at Mar-a-Lago? What's the original reason why you're coming to me?
So why was he indicted, Scott?
Indicted on the charge of obstruction?
So why was he indicted?
For withholding documents.
Because he obstructed justice, Scott. Because the DOJ was asking for 18 months to return information. He obstructed justice. He lied about it. He signed a document that he said he turned over everything, and he didn't. He had people delete security camera footage. He had people move documents around. That's obstruction of justice, right? So then, in addition to that, it was willful retention of national defense information. And we do also know that he shared classified information with people who didn't have a right to see it. So again, to your point, when I asked you, you said if he did something that put the country in danger.
Yeah.
So those things put the country in danger.
How did it directly put the country in danger?
Sharing classified information with people who didn't have the right to see it.
Sharing classified Biden just got without getting charged with that. Biden was doing the same thing.
We can talk about Biden in a second, but right now we're talking about Trump because I'm trying to understand your line. So he shared classified information with people who didn't have the right to see it. And once again, he also shared information about our nuclear subs capabilities and their readiness and their vulnerabilities. So wouldn't that be putting servicemen and women in danger?
So you're saying as one is the lesser is the evil. I'm not sure how you're framing your argument.
I'm just asking you, man. I'm literally just asking you. These are the charges that are in the indictment. Right?
Yeah, those are the charges. Those are the
right. So what I'm asking you, because I asked you specifically, where's the line? And you said that if he put the country in danger, you would stop voting for him. So what constitutes danger? I don't know. I think telling somebody or giving information to people about our nuclear subs vulnerabilities, don't you think that would be putting our country in danger?
Are you talking about when he was talking with the young lady at his desk?
That's one example. That's one. Then there's another example that he shared classified information with an Australian billionaire who happens to be a member at Mar-a-Lago. And then that guy shared that information about our subs with at least 34 other people. And we know that from the indictment and testimony.
Yeah, but the way you're framing your argument is to say that the lesser is the evil. We have to choose from two presidents right now.
Again, man, I'm asking you specifically, what is your line? Okay? I'm not talking. You don't have to vote.
Well, that's malleable. It would be forever moving, given the contents of everything that comes out every day. You can't just say that this is my line.
No, Scott. There's other examples. I'm just trying. Well, this is the one we're working on right now.
Okay.
Nobody's telling you to vote for Joe Biden. You don't have to do that. So I'm asking you, what is your line when you'll stop supporting Donald Trump? And to use your own words, you said if he put the country in danger. So right now we're only talking about the documents case, right? So again, so you would not count sharing classified information?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
So what would be putting the country in danger then, Scott?
Trading, selling classified information.
Okay. So then if he did
that would directly militarily either cause some type of harm to U.S. soldiers or U.S. citizens.
Okay, so again, sharing classified information about our nuclear subs, their readiness, their vulnerability, how close they can get to Russia, things like that. That would be, you could make the argument that that would put those people in danger. So again, to answer your own question, you literally just said that would be your line.
That you're telling me that would put the country, or who's telling me that that's going to put the country in danger?
Scott, think about what you're saying, right? Think about what you're saying. So
absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Okay, so do you think information, an adversary of ours, an enemy of ours?
But see, here's the thing, though, is you're giving
Scott,
a
can I please finish?
I'm
not. It's not a hypothetical, man.
Did it directly put that what you're saying? Did it happen?
Scott, he shared classified information with people who didn't have the right to see it.
And how did it affect the United States?
Scott, do you see what you're doing right now?
No,
you're pivoting away. Okay,
I'm not. I'm answering it directly.
Well, you're not.
You keep asking the question. I'm answering it.
You're not answering though.
How did I not answer?
Because you said, hold on, Dave. You said specifically that if it's something to put the country in danger.
Yes.
And then you gave an example that would cause harm to people or put people in harm's way. And I said, okay.
Yes. How can I could lead to that?
Okay, so then I'm saying to you, don't you think sharing information about our classified submarines would put people in danger?
It could. It could.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. It could. Okay. That's what we're agreeing on, right? So
yeah.
if he did that, and it's proven that he did it in a court of law, because I believe in due process, everybody gets a fair trial. I believe in that. If it's proven, would you still vote for him, based on your own words?
Yes, for sure.
You told us.
For sure.
So there's no line then for you.
Yes, there is a line, because I'm not focused on if it did happen. That's like, a speeding ticket. I was going to hurt somebody. I could have hurt somebody. You're charging me.
I'm sorry. It's your own words, man. Your own words.
For sure. And by that definition, that's what I'm explaining. Like when you pull me over, do I get to talk?
I don't want to talk about your getting pulled over. I'm trying to use your words. What you said to me was, if he did something that put the country in danger, and you just agreed with me that sharing information about our submarines
could lead.
Right. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Until that happens, it's just hypothetical.
So if he's proven guilty and of that charge, would you then still support him?
On the conditions of what you're saying, absolutely. Why wouldn't I?
Dave, feel free. Wow.
You believe that is special somehow? You believe it's special?
Here's what I'm not going to argue.
Scott,
hypotheticals, brother. I don't listen, Dave. I don't have to submit to your authority, brother.
Then why the fuck are you here?
Because I get to speak. You keep trying to arrange this to get me to say
no.
Nobody attacked the United States. There was no submarine sunk. There was nothing.
How do you know?
About what could have been.
Scott, I'm asking you a question. Do you think that Trump is not subject to the same rules as everybody else? That is the question I'm asking.
For sure.
You think he's not?
No, I think he's not above the law.
Great. Okay, great. So I'm just looking at the last year. In August 8th of 2023, a guy named Jack Texiera, an Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified intelligence online and knowingly sharing classified intelligence with at least one person, was sentenced to a jail term. Again, June 21st, 2023, former FBI analyst sentenced for retaining classified documents. This was a former analyst with the Kansas City division of the FBI, sentenced by a federal court to 46 months. You want me to continue?
If you feel like you got to.
I don't need to. I think I made my point.
I think his point there, Scott, is that
what makes Trump special?
Right. We're giving you examples of people that have done the same thing that Donald Trump has been charged with, and they're being held accountable under the law. So I'm asking you, and you keep pivoting away, and I'm really hoping that you can answer this question specifically, because I've heard you go back on things a few times, because you initially said if it was something that could put the country in danger, you said you would stop voting for him. Okay? And I gave you an example, and you even said yourself that yes, that could put the country in danger. And then when I asked you again, would you vote for him? and you said yes. So that tells me that that's not a line for you. Let's try something else.
No, it is a line because I trust the American justice system. And until one of those things happen, it's a hypothetical.
You trust the American justice system, so if he's found guilty, you would accept it and you would stop voting for him.
No, I wouldn't.
Then how do you trust the American justice system?
Because we're talking about, you're saying he's being charged and being criminalized and it's through them. Dave is down there saying that all these things are being passed up,
Scott,
that he's not being charged, that he's not being presented with any type of crimes. He's not being sentenced with any type of sentence.
But you just said that you accepted, holy shit, you just said you accepted the American justice system. So again, if he's found guilty under the justice system that you said you trust, you would still vote for him?
Yes, I would.
How does that make sense?
Listen, if you're asking me as far as, you're coming with this evidence, right? And I have to take it that this is true, right? Unless I go and look it up for myself.
Okay, let's not even talk about the evidence. Let's not even talk about that, okay? Let's even talk about that.
You got to talk about the evidence, brother.
We will, but I'm really trying to understand this point because you literally just said that you trust the American justice system.
Mm-hmm.
So if the American justice system finds him guilty, do you trust that verdict?
Yes.
Great. So then you would not vote for him.
Here's what maybe this will make it better for you. If Donald Trump is still able to be in November, if he's still on the ballot, he hasn't been locked up or incarcerated by your American justice system, why would I not vote for him?
That's the question. Again, you're not answering.
If you're saying that your law is going to ring true and bring him to justice, but he's still on the ballot, I have no choice but to vote for him.
You do have many choices. You don't have to vote for Joe Biden. Nothing is
so that makes your whole argument mute because it's not.
Well, it would be moot is the term. That's not the question that we're asking, Scott. The question is about you as the voter. Okay, and you said that you would trust the results of the American justice system.
Sure.
And if he's found guilty of these things that we just discussed, you would still vote for him.
Here's what I'll tell you. I'm not going to keep going back and forth.
It's a simple question, yes or no. Would you?
Yes, I would vote for him in November.
Okay. Here's another question for you. So he's been found civilly liable for sexually abusing a woman. Is that not a bar for you?
Civilly liable, not criminally.
He sexually abused her. Statement of fact. He sexually abused her. He abused her. Okay.
When the facts come up as she doesn't know where it was, on what.
And you're a fucking pig too. Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, that's MAGA.
I can't.
That's MAGA right there.
That
I told you, Dave. I told you.
I do this so often. I watch I participate in so many of these, and every single time I've had more cogent conversations with a drunk person than I did with that guy.
So again, the opportunity there, and I hope people got to witness that. So when asked the question, remember, we use Scott's words against Scott. Scott said, if he did something to put the country in danger, right? Again, I want to be very clear. I believe in the rule of law. Everybody's entitled to a fair trial. I hope he gets the absolute best defense that he can mount. There's evidence, if proven, the examples that we gave, and this is factual. It's in the superseding indictment. We know that he shared classified information with a person about an Iran war plan. We have the audio. I can play it. We know that he shared information about our subs with an Australian billionaire who then in turn shared it with 45 people or more that we know of. I would like to think that we would all agree that could put people in danger. Scott's words. Yes, I'd still vote for him no matter what. I trust the judicial system. If he's found guilty, would you still vote for him? Yes. Make sense.
Moving. It's the goalpost moving. You know?
Oh, I know.
I trust the judicial system. Okay, he was found civilly liable. That's not good enough. Okay, he's found criminally liable, but and a jury found him guilty, but has it been appealed? And has it been appealed again? And has it been appealed the third time? And off and off and off we go.
Freehold, how are you tonight?
All right.
Excellent. We're good too. Thanks for asking. What's on your mind?
Well, let's start with your Second Amendment and the 14th Amendment. Well, the 14th Amendment Section 3 doesn't apply to Trump.
Well, that's not the question. Okay, the question is what's more important and why?
Well, they're both all the amendments of the Constitution are important.
And they're all equal?
Yeah.
Okay. So then if the Supreme Court comes back and says that, yes, we agree that that he can be removed from the ballot, would you accept that result?
But you have to. I mean, that's the Supreme Court spoke.
That's right.
Well, they're not going to, but that's what's going
we
to
don't know that. We don't know
Oh, we
that
do
yet.
know that.
You're probably we don't, because they haven't rendered their verdict yet. You're likely right, but we don't know for sure. Right?
Right. Yeah. It's 99%.
Again, it doesn't matter, man. We don't know. You and I can agree that we do not know until they render a verdict. Fair enough?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay. So, are you a Trump supporter?
Yeah, and I'll get to vote for him 3 times.
Okay. So, is there any line that he can cross for you where you'd stop voting for him? Any line?
Sure, there is.
What is it?
Oh, let's see. Any criminal charges.
Criminal charges?
Yeah.
Okay, he's got 91 of them.
Yeah, that's lawfare.
What?
Lawfare. You heard that term before?
I have. So I'm
Okay.
trying to understand because you just told me that it was criminal charges. So he's been charged criminally 91 times. So
well, let's take the Florida case for example.
Sure.
Well, it should have been a civil case, not a criminal case.
Why is that? Why is that, Freehold?
How was Clinton charged? Was he charged civilly or criminally?
We're not talking about Clinton. I want you to tell me.
I'm giving you an example. You said why is that? So I'm giving you an example why it should be a civil case instead of a criminal case.
Okay, what was Bill Clinton charged with?
He was charged with withholding classified tapes.
Nope, that's not what he was.
Yes, he was.
No, not what
Yes.
he was charged with.
Yes, it
No.
was. Yes.
So would you take the words of a lawyer? Would you trust the words of a lawyer?
No.
Oh, okay. So Freehold.
Lawyers, one of the most. Do a survey and how many people trust lawyers.
Dave, you want to talk? You want to talk to our friend here?
Freehold. To answer your question.
Hey, Freehold, I'm just gonna mute you real quick, bro, because you got a lot of background noise. But you can just listen for a second, okay?
So Freehold, Clinton was actually not charged. He was threatened with a perjury charge, which is a criminal charge, but he was not charged. He made a deal to give up his law license in Arkansas. As for the charge in Florida, it is a criminal charge. And you should also know that crime, the illegal retention of documents, that used to be a misdemeanor. Guess which president signed the law to turn it into a felony? It starts with T, it ends with rump.
Freehold, are you ready? Are you going to run, or are you going to enjoy this conversation with us? Freehold, going once. Freehold, going twice.
Am I on?
You are now. Yes. So did you hear anything that Dave said?
Yeah, he's talking about the Monica Lewinsky thing. He's not talking about the tapes that Clinton had in his drawer.
I could talk about that. It's the sock drawer tapes, but he was cleared on that, man. That was investigated, and he was cleared. So
he had
hold on,
information that was classified in his person.
How do you know that? You got proof of that?
Yeah, it was. They know that the tapes are classified.
No, actually, it was for a book, man. It was for a book. Okay, it was his journal. It was for an autobiography. It was interviews that he did with a journalist and their tapes, and he didn't want all the information to come out because it was incriminating, but it wasn't classified.
Yes, it was classified.
No, Freehold, it wasn't. Okay, it wasn't. That's just a waste of time. He's just annoying me. God damn! Holy shit! I need a break, so we're gonna get a friendly. Hello, my friend.
Hey, how are you?
So much better now.
Hi, Dave.
How are you doing?
I'm
Hi.
okay.
My brain is leaking out my asshole.
I know. I've been watching you suffer
thanks
through
for sharing
this.
that.
Well, you know,
They have wipes for that now that keep it soft. So try to keep it moist.
Sharing is caring.
Anything to use the term moist in a line.
Exactly. Love it.
Indeed.
Anyway, I don't know how you do this. I just don't. The absolute ineptitude of your guest today is beyond comprehension. Any amendment in the Constitution should be held equitable. They are all amendments to the Constitution, which is the document that we follow in this nation. And
Correct.
the fact that these gentlemen you've brought up do not understand that is mind-boggling. And as someone who supports the Second Amendment, I also support Amendment 14, Section 3, and all the other amendments that coincide with it. So
Me too.
that's first and foremost. But one of the things that was interesting to me is when you were questioning that last guy, not Freebird, who you needed to uncage a long time ago, but the guy before that.
Right.
Was the fact that it's really interesting to me how they use the term it's hypothetical when we know for a fact he was caught in his Mar-a-Lago location where he was residing, sharing national defense information and SCI information that put this nation at risk. We also know that members who serve this nation have been harmed based on leaks and based on things that we know were shared with Putin himself. So the fact that we watched him in Helsinki literally say that he took the word of Putin over our intelligence, it's mind-boggling anyone continues to argue this point. But again, in your words, it is a cult.
Yep, it's a cult. I mean, again, people can, use information that they get here, and they can make their own decision. They can judge me. They can call me whatever name in the book, and believe me, they do. But the point that we're trying to make here, especially with that, I think it was Scott we were talking to, literally using his own words against him, and that's the most frustrating part. If everybody watching, when you're asked questions to say what's the line, you tell us what the line is. We give you information that would put him over the line, and you still say that you would support. That is a level of delusion that is serious, that needs some serious help.
Correct.
Like serious help.
And here's the thing: as I listen to their arguments, I haven't been on in 2 weeks, as you well know. I've been dealing with some severe family stuff. But here's the interesting part, and I want everybody.
Hang on 1 second. Hang on, Jem. Sure. Everybody in the chat, please send hearts to Jem right now. Just spam hearts like crazy and let her know how much we love her.
Oh, thank you. But please donate to a charity that helps children if you really want to do something for me. St. Jude's would be great. But anyway, now you made me cry. I just want to remind people that if you have the ability to understand what's happening in this nation and you truly believe in America, then what you have to do is have the ability to understand that if the GOP had anything on Joe Biden, they would already have come forward with it.
Yep.
And the reason they are withholding anything from Joe Biden is any ability to pass a bill. So let's be very clear. On January 20th, 2021, the first day that Biden took office, he literally had an immigration bill in hand. And if you guys haven't read it, I encourage you to go read that bill that he came into office with and presented to Congress. They refused it then. They are refusing it now. So you cannot stand with the GOP party when saying that we need to fix the border. We have a bill right now that the GOP is refusing to do anything about because they do not want to give Joe Biden the win. You know why? Because Joe Biden is winning and winning and winning for the American people since he stepped into office. He has passed more legislation than any POTUS in history in less than 2 years and continues to do so without a peaceful transfer of power while dealing with COVID and while dealing with an insurrection. And if you don't understand that by now, then you have missed the boat and you should be swimming for dear life in the opposite direction of this country. You do not deserve to be here anymore in this land voting against the betterment of our society. You are literally voting with treasonous assholes that are willing to take away your vote, suppress your rights, civil rights, human rights, educational rights, climate rights, everything. You are voting against your best interests because we now know that it was not only Trump, but the GOP who allows him and continues to allow him to engage in horrible crimes against this country. And they are going to be found out. And when it happens, I hope every one of you understands the sins of the fathers always weigh heavily on the children, because it's going to come out. It's going to come out. And I hope it doesn't impact your families.
Thank you, Jim.
I love
we appreciate you, and we love you too. Hang in there.
I just wanted to come up and say hi and thank you for messaging me during this difficult time. I love you. I love you both. Even though Dave gets mad at me, I love him too. Bye,
Back
Dave.
at you, sister. Back at you. Be well. Take care.
Bye,
Thank you very
guys.
much, friend.
Jim, not even close. Absolutely
Well,
not.
maybe I think last time it was Anthony that got mad at me, but I love you anyway, Dave.
See you later,
Even
Jen.
when you're mad at me.
Take care.
Bye.
By the way, something that Jem said made me think about something very interesting. The confirmation bias in MAGA is insane. If you've noticed, if you ask them and you mention Fox News anymore, a lot of them say, I don't watch Fox News. Why? Because even Fox News is now required, well, they feel they're required to bring up the fact that the economy is doing well, that inflation is down, that Biden is doing good things, that the immigration act or that the immigration bill is being stalled by Johnson, and they all know it. So they're not watching that anymore. They got to find something that confirms their ridiculous bias.
And I want to remind people of something a little bit. First of all, thank you for gifting Jem. I think that's a circumstance where we should certainly do that. She's been going through hell, but it's a reminder that we are participating in the strike. So no gifting. You can heart the chat. That would be great. But thank you all for that generosity. As someone who served in my state legislature for 2 terms, there is a position, literally a position. It's called the whip. And there's a majority whip and there's a minority whip. And the idea behind that position is you do what's referred to calling whipping the vote. You literally go and you find people that might be on the edge of voting particular legislation, and you negotiate and you work things out. I remember that I was whipped 3 times over a bill, and I was like, this is what I need for my district. And you get it or you don't, and then you make a decision as to whether or not you want to vote. Nancy Pelosi, one of arguably the most effective Speaker of the House in the United States history, was a master at that. When you have the majority in the House of Representatives, you don't, if you're competent, you only bring bills to the floor if you know they're going to pass. She was historic at that. Mike Johnson is incompetent. So I find it very fascinating that they're attempting to blame legislation not getting passed in the House when they hold the majority. So there you go. So the people that are whipping the votes there are whipping themselves.
Best part is, you notice what we haven't heard in about a week or a week and a half, anything about the Biden impeachment. I think that they're not going to get it. After they went down in flames with Mayorkas, they're not going to get it.
What they literally tried to blame Al Green because he got an Uber to the Capitol from his hospital room to go vote. They tried to say, well, they kind of snuck one over on us. No, how about this? He did his fucking job. He went and he voted.
And
That's how it works.
And I think they're about to lose their majority even more, because I believe that the Democrat is likely going to win DeVolder's seat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's pretty tight. A lot of money been raised in that race, by the way. Good evening, Julius. How are you tonight?
I'm just fine. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I actually wanted to go a little back to the guy you were talking to, Scott.
Okay.
There seemed to be a disconnect between you guys, and it's one that I've recently encountered that I'd like to talk about.
Okay.
Apparently, with MAGAs like him, unless you were talking about what was his line, and to the rest of us, to anyone else, we understood what you meant. He, however, only sees that unless somebody is unalived by Trump's actions, then it's a hypothetical.
But I don't disagree with that statement, but those weren't his words. So
I
he used his
understand.
own
I
words.
understand.
We use his own words against him. That's the
Right.
point. That's the irony.
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was
That's
it. That's all
fair.
I wanted to say.
That's fair. I appreciate that, brother. Good perspective. Thank you very much.
Well,
Appreciate you. Have a good night.
you too.
Yeah, I mean that's a very fair and obvious statement. I mean, again, I don't think it really fucking matters anymore. We know their line is just no line because they're in a cult. Yeah. Hey there, friend. How are you?
Well, hello.
How's it going?
Good. I'm a longtime listener. I finally got enough followers to join you.
Well,
But
thank you.
I just wanted to thank you guys for what you do. And I am a retired Air Force person, and I have been in federal contracting with a top secret security clearance for, like the last 35 years, I'm thinking. And what these people say in that Army guy, I question that he was actually in the military, because you don't handle classified information. You don't walk out with it. You just don't. And, look at Reality Winner.
Right.
She had one piece of paper. They locked her up that day. She never was out until she was freed, finally.
Right.
So it's just asinine. But can I vent just for a second about today?
Please, feel free.
So I have been thinking about this for the last couple of weeks. I think I saw Rachel Maddow speak about it maybe 3 weeks ago. Donald Trump, on January 6th, after he did incite the insurrection, he called his people in there. They did their dirty work. Yes, he didn't walk in there with them, but he sent those people there. And then they finally cleared them out, and they certified the election. And remember how outraged they were, Mitch McConnell, and, they were all like, oh, he should be gone. Lindsey Graham, they were so outraged, right, that he incited this whole thing. That the sun should not have set on January 7th with him in office. They should have 25th Amendment him that day, that night. He should have been gone. And just another thing, I'm going to go to Brazil. Brazil had Bolsonaro, right? He was elected, I think, in 2019, and then he was voted out in 2023.
Right.
And he was like Trump, dictator light. He wanted to be a dictator. He said it was rigged. It was stolen. He did the same stuff. He called his people in there. They stormed their capital. They got it under control. But here's the difference is in Brazil, the far right party that was for Bolsonaro, they said no. And they barred him from ever running for any election for the next decade. He can't run. That's what their party did. The Republicans, let's just say the Republicans of their country. And what did our Republicans do? Nothing. They stand behind him. They allow this.
Yep.
So anyway, and Bolsonaro now, guess where he is? He's in South Florida.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Perfect spot.
He's
Perfect
probably
spot.
spoken at CPAC, or like Viktor Orban has. I mean,
I think he has, or he was supposed to, or something like that.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to. I'm so glad I can finally join your lives from time to time, and I don't know that I could do what you do, because I'm sitting here while you're talking to these people. They're so incurious. They live in an information bubble, really. And
yeah, they do.
And when you give it back to them and say, if he is found guilty of whatever, he's got 91 counts, pick one. Would you still vote for him? And they say yes. Or when you say, he sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll, that's been done. It's proven. Would you still vote for him? Of course I would.
Yeah.
You call it. They're in a cult. That's it. And
that's it.
I think there's a segment of this population we're never going to get back.
I think you're probably right. And quite frankly, I don't think we need them.
Yeah, it's so sad.
They're older and they're going to go away sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Well,
You just said away. They're
Yeah,
going
oy vey
away.
indeed. Oy vey indeed.
well, I was a Republican until 2015. I have to admit, I didn't pay that much attention to politics. Um, I didn't, but when I saw what was coming in 2015, I live in Colorado, and back then, you couldn't, as an independent, you couldn't vote in the primaries. You had to declare. So I was like, oh, fuck that! I'm not voting for Trump. So I became a Democrat, and I have voted Democrat since, and probably will until
Is
this
it still the
changes.
same way? Is it still the same way in Colorado? Is it open now, or do
It
you have
it
to
is
declare?
it is open now. I was actually heavily involved in we had caucuses back then in 2015, and we put that on the ballot for the 2016 election to change it to where independents could vote in the primaries, and it passed. So now I am registered independent, but I vote Democrat. So
Well, thank you.
yeah. Anyway, I won't keep you. I just want
Appreciate
to
you very much.
thank you
And I
for
love
listening.
and I love your profile picture. It's
Oh,
great.
thanks. That's a long time ago.
Happiness, happiness. I like to see it.
All
Thank you very
right.
much, friend. Appreciate you.
You take care.
Be well. Good night.
Bye.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary. I just want to address a couple things that we see spinning around in the chat here about people still thinking that January 6th was a setup and an inside job. And of course, when I check their profile, they have like 2 followers. So that's how you quickly identify a troll. But yeah, so let's just level set in a couple of different things. We know that there was the special counsel basically has closed the case on Joe Biden. They found documents, the language in. I know he's giving a speech right now, and I would totally understand if people want to, jump, which I get. We'll do the recap tomorrow night. The question then is to whether or not people on the right are going to try to make the comparison that what Joe Biden did and what Trump did are the same thing, and they're not. In fact, the special counsel was very clear in his depiction, saying these cases are absolutely not related. Joe Biden, Mike Pence, they both cooperated. Donald Trump didn't. That's the difference. Okay, that's the difference. Pride Elite RC, interesting. You have enough followers. J6 was because of Pelosi. I just sent you an invite. Come up and talk to us about that. Pride Elite RC thinks that J6 was because of Pelosi. Let's see if he responds and joins us for our conversation. I have a feeling he might not. Yeah, I don't think so either, but we'll see. I'll give him a minute.
Cowardice.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the reality behind it. Okay, we'll bring up Red. Hey, Red, how are you tonight?
I'm good. So I've never heard of the Pelosi thing. That's a new one. But
Yeah.
I don't know how we could say that it's not an inside job when you had a sitting president holding a rally, and then having people go over there, literally the leader of the executive branch of the government. So it's going to be an inside job one way or another. So I'm just confused at how could it not be an inside job?
What do you mean an inside job? Like what do you mean?
Members of government asking people to do these things, like setting up rallies, like on both sides, like.
I'm really confused about what you're saying. So let me ask you a couple questions so I
We're
can
talking
understand
about
this. So you
January
said
6th, right? January
I know
6th,
that.
correct?
So
So
are you saying the Trump administration
I'm
set
saying
this up?
both. I'm saying that both sides of the aisle have well, there's evidence to support both sides of the aisle having something to do with this.
Okay, so what evidence do you have? So let's talk about that for a second. So like,
So
what
there's
evidence did you? Go ahead.
literally a Trump rally, right? There's literally a rally, right?
Right,
And then
we
and
know
then we
that.
also and then at the same time, that rally there was other rallies to go against that rally. We do agree that both sides were there. Yes. We
No,
don't
we
think.
don't. And what I'm trying. No, hold on, Red. Just try to slow down a little bit so I can, because you're bouncing around. So again, the question is, you said it was an inside job. So was it an inside job? Because I agree that the Trump campaign and the Proud Boys and all the other insurrectionists, I certainly believe that they were organized and they were there to try to stop the certification of the vote. You would agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
So then what else? What else is there?
but we're also aware that the other side has been blocking the video evidence for literally years now.
No, what video evidence?
All of the so there's cameras literally everywhere, right? There's cameras everywhere in the
Yeah,
Capitol building. All of it
right.
to this day are still not out.
Well, hang on one second, Dave. So that's actually not true, Red. There's an entire archive. There's a website that you can go to with all the video exhibits, the interviews, the testimony, the documents from the case. That I mean, I can even give you the website if you want it.
So the videos that I
Did you
seen
hear what
live, I
did you hear what I
still
just said?
cannot find on the internet. When it was live from people's cameras, you cannot find those on the internet anymore.
Okay, well, individual people. I mean, individual people. That's all the evidence that's been collected and gathered. Like I said, there's literally an archive website that you can go to with everything. It's there. All the reports, interviews, video evidence, testimony. That's all public information, Red. That's all available to
So
the
I
public.
seen several videos that have been taken down off the
Red,
internet.
can you just acknowledge what I said first? Because you think that there's
I'm not saying that there's no videos. I'm saying that there's a lot of them that are being censored
how do you know that though?
because I
How do you
watched them. Because I literally watched them the day it was happening,
okay,
and
well
then they got
let's
taken down.
right. So what happened on January 6th, Red? What happened?
So there was a rally and people there was multiple rallies. So the MAGA rally and the anti-MAGA rally, they all got together. The video I watched, you can literally see police moving the stuff out of the way, guiding these people through, letting them in there, and a lot of them you cannot fucking watch them right now.
Okay, so are you stating that the events of that day with over 140 officers being beaten up and windows being smashed and people breaking into the Capitol and threatening to hang Mike Pence and looking for Nancy Pelosi and all that kind of stuff? Are you saying that that didn't happen?
What did I say in any way, shape, or form that gave you the idea that that didn't happen? How did you interpret that from what I'm telling
I'm
you?
just asking.
How,
I'm
no,
just
no,
asking
I would like to know what I said that made you come up with what you just said, because I didn't say
because
anything like that.
I'm just asking a question, Red. No need to get upset. Don't no need to get so upset.
Well,
Specifically though, because
well,
the only thing
I just told
I'm
you about
talking, I'm
cameras.
talking, I'm talking. The only thing that you said was you said I see people moving gates and letting people in. So I'm just asking to make sure that I understand that you also saw video that people were being beaten up, officers being beaten, pepper sprayed, hit with flagpoles, fire extinguishers, Trump flag. They took the American flag down. They put a Trump flag up. Shit spread inside the walls of the Capitol, threats made to officers, threats made to members of Congress, an insurrection. So I just want to make sure that that you agree that that happened too.
I agree. Yeah, there was violence.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So it was an insurrection, right, Red?
I mean, you can call it whatever you want.
Well, would you call it an insurrection?
I don't know what we should call it because the sitting president has told them to do it because members of the executive branch of the government were helping them do it.
That's right. So that would make it an insurrection.
No,
Okay. So why do you say it's not an insurrection?
because insurrection is a statute in the code which would go against the Constitution. Which I would claim that I don't think that's a good name for it.
Okay, but it was. But so what's the definition of an insurrection, Red?
What's your definition?
I just asked you. What's the definition of insurrection?
So what I've seen is that's when you try to overthrow a government, but that would be different from the Second Amendment, which gives you the ability to fight against a tyrannical government. So
Okay.
we
So
could argue
one second,
back
Dave.
and forth.
One second. Okay, but that's not the definition of insurrection. So I asked you the
Okay,
definition of
so
insurrection.
what definition would you
If you
like
don't,
to use?
I would like to use the definition, which is a
The
violent act
Webster's
of
definition, the Bovier's law definition, the Black's
yeah
law definition. Which definition would you like to use?
the definition, which is a violent act or uprising against a government or authority.
Okay,
That's what it was. Hold on. So that's what it was. So why did the people come to DC that day? Why were they there?
and so that's the thing. There was a lot of people there for a lot of different reasons. There was a
Okay,
Trump rally. There was other rallies. There's multiple rallies going on.
so what other rallies were there that day, Red?
There's every time there's a rally, there's an anti-rally. So every time Black
Okay,
Lives Matter gets together, there's other people that come there too. There's not a rally is
right.
open to
So
the public, so there's
right.
going to
So
be
so
other people there, right? Can
Red,
we agree to
Red.
that?
No, we don't agree with that
You
because that's
don't
not what the
agree
evidence
that
tells us.
nobody there
No,
was not MAGA. You can't agree to that.
Do I think that everybody there that day was MAGA? No, I don't.
Okay,
But you
so
said,
you,
wait. Don't put words in my mouth. You
well,
said that there was
you just
BLM.
put all kinds of words in my mouth.
I didn't, Red. I'm trying to
You did because
understand
I
what your
talked
line.
about cameras and you talked about people getting beat up.
Well, because you didn't admit to the fact until I
You
pulled it out of you.
said,
The question
so
that,
you're
excuse
saying
me,
these
Red.
people didn't
Red,
get
excuse
beat up
me.
when I didn't mention that in
Red,
any way, shape, or form.
Red, excuse me, you're pivoting. So what was the name of the rally? What was the
You
name of the Trump
pivoted.
rally
You
that day?
pivoted to get us here. Now I'm taking us back.
Red, no, you're just incapable of debating. You're not very good at this, so maybe we should start again. So what was the name of the rally that was there that day? What was the name of the rally that was organized, that they had the
As a
permit for the
debate,
ellipse?
I'm not debating with you. I'm just having a
Red,
conversation with you.
answer my question. What was the name of the rally?
I'm not going to name any rally because I'm going to tell you that there was multiple people there for multiple different reasons.
Okay, so Red, what did you have for dinner tonight?
I didn't eat dinner tonight.
Great, nobody fucking cares.
I'm
How's your
appalled.
head? How's your head, Dave?
Leaking. I'm going to be quiet in the chair. This is bad.
Good evening, Tubbs. How are you tonight?
I am doing good.
Excellent.
Little
What's on your
nervous.
mind?
This is my first live ever.
Awesome. Welcome.
Well, I see you guys are kind of wondering what's going on in Trump supporters' mind. I tend to
Yeah.
like the guy, so I
Okay.
kind of wanted to talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Why do you like him?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I had the most successful couple years of my career when he was president.
Why do you think? What 2 years were the most successful for you?
2019 was fantastic for me personally, but
Cool.
I chalked that up a lot, mostly I guess because gas was pretty cheap and
Yeah. What did Trump do to bring gas prices down?
I mean, I can't tell you. I just know they were cheap when he was in office.
Okay, so if you don't know, then can you assume that maybe he didn't do anything to lower gas prices?
You know what? Maybe him not doing anything is one of the benefits of him being president. Because
That's interesting. I never heard
in
that
my
one before.
mind, the Democrats and the Republicans are two sides of the same coin, and
That's easy to say.
Trump is not really either one of them.
Okay, so are you planning on voting for him again, Tubbs?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so is there any line that he can cross that you would stop voting for him?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I can't name anything reasonable that. I mean, if he killed someone, there you go.
Let's use unalive, please. I would appreciate that.
Oh, sorry.
So
Sorry.
that's it. So that's the line for you.
Well, I mean, that would be like one of the lines. Like, I mean, there's a bunch of things he could do that I would think.
Like what?
You can name any despicable act, and that would pretty much be it.
Okay, so sexually abusing a woman, then, right?
That thing, I feel like that was politically motivated. But that's
of course it was. You fucking pig. Get out of here.
I noticed that you get very upset when they say that. Just
yeah.
I noticed it. Just out of the blue. I have no idea why.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like
that's
that. If he unalived somebody, well, let's see. He made people doubt a vaccine and caused or contributed to the deaths of. I'm going to be generous and say 500,000 Americans.
Yeah. Again, like we had somebody on. I think it was last night, and his wife was chirping at him in the background because.
I remember that.
Yeah, and literally right in front of his wife, he said he didn't care. Didn't care that Trump sexually abused a woman. At least he accepted the fact that he did it, unlike most MAGA cowards when they try to pivot away and say, well, it was just civil.
How about this? His wife didn't care either.
I know. Hey, so Dave, let's use this opportunity to maybe it's an elevator pitch, the difference between criminal and civil.
It's very simple. Criminal, under reasonable doubt. Civil, preponderance of the evidence.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Appreciate that. God damn.
Your brain's leaking through your eyes now. I can tell.
I know. Mayan, good evening this evening. How are you tonight?
Oh, good.
Great. We're doing well, too. What's on your mind?
Just coming in to tell you it sucks to be you guys,
Why is
and
that?
I feel
Why
sorry
does it?
for you.
Why is that? Why does it suck to be us?
Your TDS is showing on your chin, bro.
Is it?
Yeah.
So do you have an honest, sincere take, or do you just want to play this kind of middle school game?
Well, the middle school game is inviting people in to have a conversation and then disagreeing with them and kicking them out and then
Is
trying
that
to control
is that what we're doing?
them. That's all you're doing.
Is that so?
You're
So
acting
do
like
you
a
believe
faggot.
that?
You're acting like a fucking queer.
Oh wow, that's a tough guy. See you, tough guy. Have a good night. See, how pitiful does a person have to be? How despicable and empty and miserable does a life have to be for somebody to do that? I mean, really, that guess W? Wow.
You
That's
know,
really.
that just that was boring.
I know.
That was
Just do
just
better.
plain. You want to be an asshole. You want to be a bigot and a racist. Be a bigot and a racist. Just don't be fucking boring.
Yeah, just be original, and then again, literally high school. That's kind of what it feels like that he's in high school. He probably capped out as his assistant manager job 5 years ago, and he's just miserable. TJ, how are you tonight?
Good, sir. How you do? How you guys doing?
We're well. Thanks for asking.
Good, good. Hey, I want to comment about the last caller because when I post up videos and stuff like that, I
No gifts, please.
always
No gifts, please. Thank you, though.
okay. I'm sorry. But
You're good.
anyway, I always the same remarks about the TDS and all this stuff like that. They always go for the insults.
Of course they
It's
do. That's all they have.
exactly. They always go for the insults. They never want to debate the point because they don't have a point. They never want to uh, go about fixing a problem. They just want to fight. That's all they want. They just want to fight for the sake of fighting. They never want to solve an issue. They never want to make something make a difference in our country. They just want a fight for the sake of fighting.
Yeah, and you know the ironic part about that,
Mm,
T-Gem, is that
mm.
they're weak ass snowflakes who couldn't fight their way out of a wet paper bag, and yet they thumped their chests. They thumped their chest, claiming for civil war, and they would run and hide so quick it would make your head spin.
And it's always the people who advocate for civil war that they're the ones that always are the loudest. They never they never served. They never seen battle in the first place. Like I said, they pump their chest, but they have never seen battle in the first place.
No, they
It's
don't do it.
it's
They're,
it's
You know what
gross.
I've never met? Do you know who I've never met?
Hmm.
I've never met a combat veteran who is advocating for civil war ever.
Exactly. I've had several
up until
uncles.
up until MAGA, you mean, Dave?
Oh no.
Yeah, I have uncles who have served, and every one of them they never wanted to see combat ever again because they know how horrible war is.
Yeah.
It messes with your mind so badly that you can never look at life the same again, and it just boggles my mind how people want civil war and to fight fellow Americans because they want to side with someone who, first of all, never went
Never
into
served.
the military, it served in the first place, and
Right.
secondly, who, as a matter of fact, who blatantly covered McCain's name on the military vessel that he made a speech on because he was so butthurt about it.
I know. It
By the
just
way,
goes to show you how pitifully weak and cowardice he is, which is exactly why MAGA is just as weak and cowardice as they are.
by
I
the
mean,
way,
we even have little fools in the chat here like Will Berg who says there's no veterans for Biden. Come on up, Will. Request. We can talk about that. Then I'll bring up
For
a whole bunch of veterans that are for Biden. But
by
you
the way,
probably won't, Will, because
I
you're
didn't
probably
say
afraid.
veteran. I said combat veteran.
No, I'm just saying in the chat we have
Oh no, I was
a
when I said before about I've never met a combat veteran who wanted civil war. I'm sure that there are plenty of veterans who never left the states.
yeah. I mean, I've spoken to combat veterans who are for Trump and want civil war. So,
Really?
oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
I'm in the same boat. Like I've talked to people that they served and they you know they just they're in love with Trump and they don't the logic doesn't click that the two don't mix. You know.
Oh, again, talking about logic, and that's part of the problem.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I agree. But hey, good job, guys. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks.
Appreciate what you guys do.
We appreciate you. Thanks a lot for joining. Have a good night.
No problem, sir. You too.
You know, if I had a higher if I had a higher emotional threshold, I'd probably be crying right now. But fortunately, I have no feelings, so this works out just fine. It's the only way we could do this shit.
So Will, why would you make a statement like that? So you don't think veterans support Biden?
Most of them, no, bro.
Well,
They
you just
don't.
said no. You just said no. You said no veterans support Biden.
Well, if you read what I said about 90% of veterans are voting
No,
for Trump,
you
voting
said
Republican.
no.
Why don't you
No.
look at my other message, brother?
Why don't you stop yelling, you little baby? Why are you so triggered? Are you a tough guy? Are you a patriot, Will?
I'm definitely a patriot, brother.
Really? What does a patriot mean to you, Will?
A patriot is somebody that fights for our Constitution and stands for our Constitution.
Did you
Somebody that
serve?
is. No, I didn't serve,
Oh,
honestly.
okay.
My father
So
served, my grandfather served, my brother served. I served other
so
places.
so so Will, do you know that 60% of active duty voted for Joe Biden in the 2020 election?
Do you really think those statistics are real?
Oh, so if I told you that 60% of active duty voted for Trump, would you believe that?
I mean, whatever you believe, man, because all you do is just try to
I'm just
turn
asking
stuff
you.
around.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. So you don't believe
I'm
that, but
not
would
going
you
to
believe
believe
it?
anything you say, man. Did you not just watch Fox News? Did you not just see your grand president up there? Do you not
Fox?
realize that Biden really
Bro,
made 40 years
bro,
off of a
bro,
career in politics off of
bro,
racism? Do you know what
bro.
racism
Really?
is?
Will, what did you have for
Racism
dinner?
was, bro, I can
Will, hold
literally
on.
give you a history
Take it. Take
lesson.
a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Man, I
What's
don't need to
what did you
breathe. I got good breath.
What did you have for dinner?
I had
Nobody fucking cares.
I
You
wish
see,
they're not going to talk, if they're just going to spew,
they can't talk, Dave. They
it's no
can't.
fun. It's no fun. I
They
don't.
don't. Yeah, they can't talk. That's the problem. They can't
Yeah.
talk. They have nothing but anger, their immaturity, their inability to form a cognitive sentence. They don't have facts on their side. They get triggered by literally everything, and they expect. And yet, we're the ones. We're the ones that have TDS. It's hilarious.
Trust me, I would love to forget about the motherfucker, but he doesn't let us.
Nope, it does not. Anyway, good evening, Mark. How are you tonight? Mark.
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fine, thank you. What's on your...
I'm not a Democrat.
Okay.
I guess you could call me an ultra left. Excuse me. I'm the opposite of ultra left. I'm ultra right.
So you're ultra MAGA?
I'm ultra right. You can call me MAGA if you want. I am ultra right. I believe in the sanctity. I believe in the sanctity of birth.
Okay. You believe in the sanctity of birth.
Yes.
So then you don't. So you don't support rights then?
I support equal rights for everybody.
Women too?
I don't divide those like the Democrats do. You know, it's like racism.
I just asked you.
I don't divide blacks and whites either.
Mark, I just asked you a question. You said you believe in equal rights. So I said for women too, and then you kind of chuckled. So do you believe in women's right to vote?
I believe that if there's a man involved, that it should be a mutual situation rather than just the woman's choice to take care.
Wrong. 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 Wrong, 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 wrong. I love how they try to tiptoe their way into that conversation, and they wait. They wait for the bigotry and misogyny to come showing. That's what they like to do.
You
Yeah.
hide it. It's the hiding. If you're going to be that, then say it with your whole fucking chest. Come on out. Tell me. Tell me you're an asshole. Tell me you're a bigot. Tell me you support Trump 110% no matter what he's going to do. There are a few that do that, and I'm like, all right, you're an asshole, but at least you're a true blue asshole. At least you're all the way out there. But it's the ones that try to sneak into it backwards.
Because the people that participate in my lives are so fucking awesome. They'd already checked out his profile, and you can imagine what was there.
I could, but I won't because I need some sanity to go to sleep tonight.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, continue to like and share. Whoa, there goes the mic. Continue to like and share, please. Can we get to 150? That'd be awesome. TikTokero, how are you tonight?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Fine, thank you. What's on your mind?
I just want to say, man, I really appreciate what you do, bro.
Thank you.
I mean, calling out other white dudes for their BS. It's about time somebody did that, dude. You know what I'm saying? Been waiting for that, dude.
I've been doing that my whole life, brother. I've been doing that my whole life. But I appreciate you saying that.
I just wait. Go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, I mean, yes, I think that the vast majority of the guys who come up here that are just sheer assholes are likely colored like me. But not all, most of them, but not all of them. And those people, I've met African Americans on this who are completely pro-Trump. I've met Hispanics who are completely pro-Trump. And those people make me want to, I don't know, like just dunk my head in ice cold water to forget, because I don't understand how that happens. You know, it's like they completely disregard everything the man says and does. Everything he said and does, and everything he says and does. And they just like, yeah, I'm doing it. Yep. But yeah, it ain't about black or white, man. It's about asshole and non-asshole. Really, that's all it is.
True.
Yeah. The thing with me is, man, I grew up here in Orange County, California, over here, and I grew up with these guys, bro. And as soon as Trump came out, damn, I started realizing, like, damn, there was always two different type of white people I grew up with. There was the cool white people, and there was the other white people like Trump and them that always held these feelings. You know what I'm saying? Like, we hate immigrants. You know what I'm saying? And I remember growing up, and I'm Mexican. People would tell me, "Oh, but you're not one of those Mexicans." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm an immigrant." You know what I'm trying to say? I'm like, you know. So like over here in Orange County, right? Like that's like what used to going on. But like now, what I see, like a lot of Mexican kids these days, they really are jumping onto the whole thing. It's okay to be Mexican, you know what I'm saying? But before it used to be like, oh, don't be Mexican. You know what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, we still try to navigate through this in our society, and it makes it hard. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that.
What's that? What'd you say? I'm sorry.
No, I was just thanking you. I just appreciate you. Appreciate this support.
Yeah, and to me, when I see you guys, dude, I totally feel like God. I don't want to be like jump like MAGA, but I'm just saying like God. You guys are like angels, like you two, the two white dudes right there, because they say they travel too.
You don't know
what I'm saying?
You don't know who.
I don't know.
I can't speak for Dave, but I know I'm an angel.
All right, you could have it. You can take the wings. I'll take the horns. Okay.
No, but seriously. No, okay, just keep doing it. Like, this is good. I'm doing the same thing. I'll jump on and I make fun of the other Mexicans too. Like, how are you still with MAGA? And you know what I found? The ones from Texans are the worst ones. They're like brainwashed to think like they're Texan before Mexican. You know what I'm saying? Like, we had somebody in our family that moved down here from Texas, and he was claiming, "I'm not Mexican, I'm Texan. I'm not Mexican, I'm Texan." You know, so I don't know. The Mexican Texans are something else, bro. You know, there's something else. I don't know.
You can identify however you want to identify. Just don't be an asshole. That's all I got to say about it. Don't be a dick.
Fair enough.
Don't
be a dick. Don't be an asshole. Don't be a bigot. Don't be a racist. Don't be a transphobe. Don't be a homophobe. Don't be a misogynist. Don't be a xenophobe. Yeah.
Just live and
exactly.
Live and let live. Is that so hard for you?
Yeah, and that's why I love you. That's why I love you guys exposing all that. Like how you guys are getting on here, getting the word out, shaming these people. You know what I'm saying? They need to go back. They need to go back. Like I said, it's I don't know if it's okay what they were thinking. Like I'm thinking about the people that I was with. Like they're always holding these feelings, and like Trump just let them come out with it. You know what I'm saying? I've lost friends. You know what I'm saying? They don't hang out with me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Because
True.
of that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because they know that I'm with, like you said, I'm not misogynist, I'm not xenophobic, you know, I'm not all that, but they are, and they say they hate everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, dude, you hate
You
everything.
do.
Like, we need
Yeah, tell them.
guns. My friend, I need a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't have peace. Like, dude, I don't have a gun. And they go to
Let's say pew pew,
church.
but yeah.
Yeah, pew pew. And then they go to church. This is a real problem. I go to church. Well, why you go to church and you're scared? I thought you give all your problems to God and you know what I'm saying to Jesus and you're scared. I need a gun. You know
I
what I'm
know,
saying?
man. Pew
Multiple
pew,
guns.
but yeah,
Pew pews.
Yeah,
Multiple
pew
you
pew
gotta
pew.
pews.
you
I'm
gotta
sorry.
be careful with that.
Yeah,
That
pew
Yeah,
pews. I'm sorry.
you say things like that.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I don't know. They're cool people. I'm still friends with them, believe it or not. I'm still friends with them. You know, but I'm like, damn, dude. You guys have weird views. They know my views too, though. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just like, damn.
I hear you. I hear you,
But
bro. We appreciate the support. We're gonna keep doing it, and you
yeah,
keep
thank
doing
you,
the
sir.
same, brother.
You keep
Thank
doing
you
it.
very much. You got.
All right.
Thanks a
Bye.
lot, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Appreciate you.
Good night, Victoria. I think that's his name. Yeah, Tico
TikTokero. I think it was TikTokero.
TikTok.
Yeah.
I like.
All right. All right. So, let's bring up Samuel. Oof, there's a lot of people in the box. Probably not going to get to everybody tonight, guys. We'll try. Thank you to Dave for hanging in there with me tonight, brother. I appreciate it. I know you enjoy it somewhat.
I wouldn't do it.
Samuel, try to bring you up, bro. It does not look like you're connecting. We can try this again. We'll bring up Grand Dude. Grand Dude 1. How are you tonight? Hello.
Doing fine. I enjoy listening to you.
Can barely hear you. Can you get closer to your microphone, please?
Yeah, I can turn it up too. Can you hear me now?
Barely.
Really?
Yep.
Is that better?
Hello.
Hello?
I don't know what's going on with your mic, man, but we can barely hear you, brother.
Okay.
Bluetooth. You have Bluetooth on? Turn off your Bluetooth.
Okay. Give me a.
Technical difficulties. Please stand by.
I get it.
Yep.
Hello.
No.
Nah, man.
But your phone is not.
No, we can't hear you, brother. You can try to request again. Clean up your audio. I can barely hear you. It's crazy.
That sounded like somebody was scratching a record very badly.
Yeah. My Gen X is showing.
Yours and mine both.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I haven't intentionally talked about the fact that Tucker's interviewing Vlad tonight, only because I don't think it's worth it to even cover.
Oh, no. I want to see that interview.
Yeah, I'm not interested.
No, I am because I want to hear it in the original Russian.
Do you speak some Russian?
I speak all the Russian.
Oh, okay.
I was born in the former Soviet Union. That's the first language I learned.
Well, I know that.
Yeah. So yes, I speak Russian.
Good. Kicking my neck. Why? I don't even heard that. That was a big crack. Country boy, I don't know why you're not connecting, bro. And I want to know why you keep spamming Tara Reid in the chat. That's not like you. That's not like you, country. You're better than that. Don't do that shit. What's up, Seti? How you doing, man?
Going on. I'll look briefly, man. The young man wanted to know why these immigrants come over here and want. I think it's just they want to assimilate because they know how bad people of color are in this country. So even if you're brown skin, you want to assimilate to the privileged class. And you would be an idiot to say, I want to be treated like black people in this country. You would be a dummy. So they come over here, even if they're Cuban, they're Afro-Cuban, they still come over. Look at that guy Terrio. He's in
Oh
prison
yeah.
right now, and
Right.
he is a man of color, but he's a white supremacist. So I mean, it's what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, assimilation, proximity to power, things like that, right?
Absolutely. I worked in
Yeah.
Mexico. I worked in Mexico for, I think you and I talked about this before, but I
Yeah.
worked in Mexico for 10 years. And I'd worked in El Paso and I worked in Juarez. And the people of Mexico are wonderful people. But the Mexican Americans in Texas, that young man was right a few minutes ago. The Mexican Americans in Texas hate the Mexicans across that border.
Mm.
They hate them with a passion. And I asked one young man, I said, do you have family members in Mexico? And he says, yes. I said, you don't love your family? He says, but they're dirty people. I said, what? And he was dead serious, man. He was serious to a heart attack. They know they don't want to be treated like those people over there. So that in some kind of weird way, they're against them. And the same thing with African Americans that are on for Trump and everything, because they know they're going to get something. They know they're going to be accepted a certain kind of way. What they don't realize is you can be thrown away like a J.C. Watts or the young lady in Utah. You can be thrown very quickly when you don't side with white supremacy. And that's pretty much what it is.
That's true. I think about somebody. I was just thinking about that. Somebody said Tim Scott in the chat, and I was just thinking about Tim Scott too.
That's
Right?
right.
It's that proximity to power and that assimilation. Like I don't get it.
Well, think about it. You're a U.S. senator. A woman. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, I said forget about Tim Scott. Look at Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up. Look at Nikki Haley. Look what she did for Tim Scott. She made him a senator, and what does he do? He's all in for Donald Trump.
No, it's proximity to power.
Exactly.
And not only that, it's also he knows that if there's any sunshine between him and Trump, he's losing a seat in the next election.
It's true.
That's
this
right.
Is this is a Carolina, North or South. I can never keep Carolina. Black man, South Carolina. Black man's a senator from South Carolina. He is this close to losing a primary.
Yep.
This fucking close.
He's 50 something, 58 years old, never been married. This man proposed to a woman in the wintertime on the beach in South Carolina. He'd never been married. And they say, I don't know what he is. It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter.
But he proposed to that woman, and just because he wants to be a vice president.
Yep.
There's no way in the world you can tell me that man loves that woman. And the same thing with Lindsey Graham. He's been single all his life.
Oh, Lady L? Lady
Yes.
L hasn't been single. He's just been in the closet.
Well,
And
to be
again,
totally
nothing
honest
wrong
with you,
with
I think both of them are in the closet.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it. No.
No. I'm gonna push back. Something wrong with it. If you are
hypocrisy.
no, it's the hypocrisy. If you're Roy Cohen, a gay man who hated gay people,
yep,
and was willing to throw them under the bus, a Jewish man who hated Jewish people, wanted to throw them under the bus, and that's I'll say the
Clarence
same
Thomas,
thing.
a black man that hates black people.
Again, that's Tim Scott for you.
Yeah,
and and old Lindsay, I'm telling you. I mean, look, I wouldn't be surprised if he was gay, but if you're gay and if you are in that party which advocates for the eradication of minorities if not literally, then in the public space. If that is what you're going to be out there, and if that is where you're looking for power, fuck you.
Exactly. I mean, it's Mrs. Ziegler from Moms of Liberty mocking the LGBTQA community. Meanwhile, she's having, threesomes. So again, whatever you do in your private life is fine by me, but it's the fucking hypocrisy.
I don't have a problem with it being gay. I have a problem with people being in the closet. I know, but you're on that party and you have to be in the closet.
I don't
You
even
have
have
to
a problem
be.
with that. To each his own.
Yeah.
People can make their own decision when they want to come out, but it's the hypocrisy.
Right.
If you don't want to be out, don't be out. But if you don't want to be out, and you're going to be advocating against people just like you because you want power, again, fuck you.
Exactly.
Absolutely. I would rather
Appreciate
you
you
be
saying.
yourself. You know, there's a governor in New Jersey. They found out that he was a Democrat. I forget what his name was, and he had to resign and everything because he was a gay man. Well, you remember that guy? I forget his name, but he was the
No,
governor of New
I
Jersey.
don't remember that. I don't remember who that is
Oh
either.
yeah, he was the governor. He's a
How long
Democratic
ago?
governor, and he resigned. He was
How,
married,
how long
but he was
ago?
in the
How long
closet.
ago was it?
Mark
How long
says
ago was it?
Jim McGreevey.
That's
McGreevey.
exactly right. Thank you, Mark. Thank you,
That
Said.
was the
And he had to
that was the night.
resign because of what and because he made a choice to come out of the closet. Well, there was some kind of scandal or something like that, so he had to come out. But that's what I want them to be able to be in the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, and be yourself and be out like the log cabin Republicans. I believe in that. I truly do. And
And I
with that,
noticed
my brother,
something.
I'm gonna let you guys go. I know you want to bring people up that are ops. Dave, it's good to meet you, my brother. And you guys are doing a great job here. Okay.
Say, be good, man. Good to talk
Thanks
to
a
you.
lot, buddy. Appreciate you, man. Bye bye now.
Be well,
By the
bro.
way,
Take care.
notice that there are no log cabin Republicans that actually hold office as Republicans.
I agree.
I don't know of one.
Here, I'm gonna bring up Diva. You guys talk for a second. I've got to run that way. I'll be right back.
Hey, Diva, how you doing? Diva, you there?
Hi. Let me get into some more. I was waiting for so long. I was in the other room. Hold on. My daughter had the TV really loud. Sorry.
Good from here.
Is that better?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah. So, what's on your mind tonight? I'm gonna be fast for a second. What's on your mind tonight?
What's on my mind? I'm not surprised by the Supreme Court. I kind of figured out within the first few minutes of questioning. Maybe not the first few minutes because I think Trump's lawyers sucked. But especially once the Colorado lawyer got up there, the kind of questions they were asking him, I was like, oh, this is not going the way I thought it would.
No,
But I'm not surprised.
No, neither am I. I was before the argument. I was saying 75% chance they overturn, and then after the argument, I'm saying 95% chance they're going to overturn it, and it's going to be a pretty unanimous or almost unanimous decision.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with some of the points. Like I understand some of their points, but I think that they're missing the egregious nature of what it is we're talking about and the danger he proposes to this country.
That's not an issue that they can decide.
I know. I just it doesn't seem fair. But it was interesting that it was interesting that his attorney did say that it was criminal.
Fair and legal are almost never in the same room together.
I know. I'm a paralegal, as I told you before. I know. And I was a court reporter for 15 years before that. So I've been in many courtrooms and hearings and depositions and jailhouses and all kinds of places. I know that. But I did want to say another thing about the attorney, not the attorney. Yes, the attorney that the special counsel that was investigating Biden, her. He is at the end of the day, he is a good old Republican. And what he did is he basically is trying to James Comey Biden just like he did to Clinton. Because what he couldn't do legally, he couldn't find anything legally to charge him with. So he's going to politically try to harm him. And it's working perfectly because if you look at Twitter or anywhere else, because I refuse to call X, by the way, it's freaking Twitter. Anyway, if you look all over there, it's nothing but Republicans saying he invoked the 25th. He's not legally sound. He's no way he can serve another term, another 4 years, blah, blah, blah. Played right into his hands. Just like butter, just right into his hands. And they're screaming it from the rooftops now.
Because
knew his own.
It's another example that they have nothing to run on. Absolutely nothing. So that's what they're left with. That's what they're left with.
I know. And I don't know if we were live, you were live, so you didn't hear Biden's speech, but he was done. And I think it was Ducey who asked him a question, and he turned around and he went back and he said, you have a problem, or I'm paraphrasing because I saw it in a split second, but he was basically like, like you're questioning me. He's like, have you seen what I've done? Have you seen what I've accomplished?
About fucking time.
Like,
Yeah.
don't call into question my fitness. He's like, do you see what I've done? Do you see what's happened? Basically, he came back out fighting. And I was like, that's the dark Brandon I want to see. Put on
Yeah.
them glasses, bitch, and give it right back to him.
I agree.
This is what I've been waiting for the longest time. The Republicans have been downplaying and playing nice, and they don't have to be. They don't have to be like just burning, scorched earth. All they have to do is shout from the rooftops what's been accomplished. That's it.
Yeah, the Democrats, you mean? Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Yes.
And then Biden again playing chess while they're playing checkers. He got the Senate to pass a $92 billion bill for aid to Ukraine and Israel. It doesn't have any part of the border in it. So he got them to vote out their own border provision that they wanted. It may or may not pass the House, but I'm just saying, it's like, just like he did with Social Security. When they were talking about Social Security and Medicare, he waited till the State of the Union speech and says, oh, well, the Republicans want to take away your Medicare and your Social Security. And they're like, no, we don't.
And you remember
And
how
he turns
butthurt they were when that happened?
Oh, yeah. He turns to him. He's like, okay, well, are you going to pledge right now that you're not going to touch it? Can you pledge right now you're not going to touch it? And they're all like, oh, yeah, yeah. He had him over the barrel. So for someone who's in supposed cognitive decline, he sure seems to outdo them every time.
He
This
does.
man has been in politics for 40 years. Politics, there are a lot of people I hear say all the time, politics shouldn't be a profession. Hey, this is the most complicated bureaucracy in the history of the world. I'm talking about the U.S. government.
Yep.
And the president runs the vast majority of that bureaucracy because he runs the executive branch. To have an amateur as president, well, we had 4 years of that. We saw how that fucking turned out.
Well, exactly. And David, that's why I've always said he was the right man for this moment in time, this exact moment in time. We needed his diplomacy. We needed his connections and his relationships he's already had with all of these foreign leaders for all of these years. And from eight years of being vice president, he's made relationships. He's been able to finagle deals. He's been able to, reach across both sides of the aisle. Look at all the bipartisan legislation that has been signed on a razor thin margin.
Absolutely.
That takes finesse, and that takes relationships, and that takes.
And it also takes, Diva, you're right. And it also takes the fact that if you look at the people that are surrounding him, if you look at the people that he's got in his cabinet, if you look at the people that are on his staff, if you look at the people that are advising him, they are some of the most efficient and professional political operatives you'll find anywhere. You compare that to what we just went through.
Well, that's
politics
talking
isn't
about
easy.
The clown car of government for 4 years?
Exactly.
Well, that's what a leader does. A good leader surrounds himself with the best people. He might not know everything about every subject, but he hires the people in that do know how to get each of those things done. That's what a leader does. Anybody can be a manager. Anybody can manage people. It takes a leader to know who to put in those positions and who to assign things to, how to delegate that work to the appropriate people. That's a leader.
Right, Diva. The only difference is that MAGA, that their claim to fame is assistant manager. That's where their aspiration is. And they consider they consider that successful.
Maybe team lead. Maybe team lead.
McDonald's. I'm just saying, assistant manager. Yeah, that's their claim to fame. You're right, friend. I appreciate that perspective, and I think it's a really good reminder for people that government isn't easy. Having been in it, although different at the state level, obviously, it requires relationships, it requires negotiation, it requires compromise, it requires, again, the diplomacy, not only foreign diplomacy, but domestic diplomacy as well. And competence. I've got plenty of reasons to criticize the Democratic Party, and I've been doing it my whole life. That's why I'm a leftist. But specifically, I appreciate results. And you can't deny the fact that this administration has delivered more legislative wins since FDR. It's not even close.
Yeah, and I just want to say one more thing. That they're, I guess in the not the deposition, but the report of the special counsel Hur.
Yep.
He was saying that when he was asking him of the date. Oh, he addressed this in his speech too. He wanted to know what date Beau Biden died.
Yeah.
And he couldn't recall at that moment. And tonight in his press conference or something like that, he's like, I was thinking in my head, why the hell does it matter to him? Or what business is it of his?
Right.
But just because Joe Biden couldn't remember in that moment what exact date his son passed, Donald Trump couldn't even pick out his own. He picked out E. Jean Carroll as his ex-wife in a photo. So I don't want to hear any of y'all talking shit about Biden and about trying to memorize and having problems with memory. It's
You're
just
right,
bullshit.
Diva. And I think it's important to call out because as someone who's been through trauma in their life, it's difficult to recount particular dates and times and locations where you are and things. There's things. I mean, I've got a pretty damn good memory, but there's plenty of things that I forgot. Maybe it's intentional in your brain subliminally that you forget these dates connected to traumas. So who the fuck cares? Why does it even matter? It doesn't. Another example as to why the right is just so pitiful and weak.
All they have is insults, and all they have is all the excuses, because what they can't do is they can't find any dirt on Joe Biden, because he's a good and decent man. He's a good and decent husband, and he's a good and decent father. And that's the only thing he's ever really guilty of.
That's right. Well said, friend.
And he's actually a good Christian. He goes to church every Sunday. He's actually a Christian. You would think that MAGA would be like, all the evangelicals would be on Joe Biden's side, because he actually practices what he preaches. Or actually, he doesn't preach. He just practices.
He's a snacker. He's a Catholic. Can't trust them Catholics.
That's right. That's right. You're right, Diva. You're right.
But it just doesn't make any sense. They talk about both sides of their mouth. They're disgusting. They're vile, in my opinion. And just thank you, from someone who is an SA survivor. Thank you for shutting those people down every time that they try to downplay E. Jean Carroll. Because I can tell you, I was 14 years old when mine happened, and I couldn't tell you the date if my life depended on it. Because I think that's something that you do, like you said, with trauma, you try to forget that date. And it doesn't mean it didn't happen. It just means I can't recall that date. No matter how much you asked me, I couldn't either.
Yeah, well, I appreciate your openness on that, and I do my best. I can't get him. Sometimes I can't get him out of here fast enough. I'll do my best, though. You know that. I got you.
But I appreciate that, and every time you do it, I'm over here like, yes, got another one.
I should get like a
right.
Asshole 4, 5 assholes, 6 assholes, 10 assholes more.
Exactly. Well, thank you.
That's not what I paint 99 beers on the wall. I just do it with 99 MAGAs on the wall. Take one down, pass it around.
Oh my God,
take one down, pass it around, piss on it, and throw it in the ground.
Yeah, it would fill up quickly. It would. But Diva is also, by the way, chat. Diva is also one of my mods who does an exceptional job. So please heart in the chat your thanks to Diva for her awesomeness and just how great she is, because she manages to keep the madness under control. Her and Nikki and Jem and many, many others, and Francis and Cookie. There's lots of you, and I appreciate you all for what you do.
Oh, thank you. And I show up every night because I want to keep your lives safe, so I can keep you going and keep the riffraff out. So thank you for the love, and I will hop down.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you very much.
Somebody in the commented, Katie Porter whiteboard.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's actually a good idea, and I could use it as a display. It's like we're up to 29.
Yep.
So I'm sorry I'm not going to get to everybody, but it's time to wrap up. So Dave, in summary this evening, what would you like to inform our friends about? Any recaps or anything you'd like to say?
Goalposts keep going and going and going and going. That's it. They just don't stop.
I want to address a chat real quick from Pimp Daddy. So Pimp Daddy, I've read the executive summary on the special counsel document, and I got through about 75 pages of the actual report. I know you didn't read any. We know that for a fact because you never read anything, Pimp Daddy. The ironic part about that is that if you had read it, you would understand what it said, but then that would require reading comprehension, and that's not in your ball game. So anyway, didn't mean to interrupt, Dave.
No, that's it. That's all I wanted to say. The goalposts keep going away.
Yeah.
They keep getting farther and farther. That's all.
They do. I appreciate that. So again, thank you, Dave, for joining tonight. Really, really appreciate that. As we talked about earlier, it was going to be an interesting ride, and it certainly was. So, friends, I've said this every night, and I will continue to say this until Election Day. If you do not know if you're registered to vote, please find out. It's on you. You can go to your state Secretary of State's website, and your voter registration will be there. Registering to vote is super easy. If you're not, there's no excuse. Please find out where your polling locations are, what times they are, because we do know from reporting that the right is working on changing the rules regarding when polls will be open and how. So depending on where you live, you might want to find out in advance. Is your state accepting absentee ballots? When can you mail in your ballots? How long? How long do you need to register if you're not? Can you change your party affiliation? Those are all the things that are important to be an active citizen. Democracy is not a spectator sport. Thank you all very, very much. Thank you, sir. Everybody have a great night and vote blue. Thank you all.
Good night. Good night, all.